comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don. And if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by ComicBook Clique. And as you know, I am never alone. Sir, introduce yourself.
I am Dan, the comic man, ladies and gentlemen.
And although the clique is usually fine and friendly, today the clique goes to war because today is a very special episode, the second of a series we like to call Which Was Worse.
Womp, womp, womp.
In which each one of us tries to defend a maligned comic book movie, and so we can get right down to the nitty-gritty and find out which one of two given movies was actually really worse. The first episode that we did this on was Deadpool versus Green Lantern, which I think we did a fine job on.
No, it was X-Men Origins.
The original Deadpool.
Yeah,
Barakapool. It was X-Men Origins, Wolverine versus Green Lantern, and I think we got some more affection for those movies because of that conversation, and because in a couple days, PlayStation 4 will be releasing the Spider-Man game for the PS4 that has been everywhere from bus stops to billboards. Everyone's talking about this game and Spider-Man in general. So we decided to look at the two most maligned Spider-Man movies that currently exist. Two of the movies that people say are on the list of just generally bad comic book movies. Today we're going to talk about which was worse, Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3. Now, I laid these choices at your feet, Dan the Comic Man, and I allowed you to choose which one of these you were going to defend, as we usually do. We try to make these fights fair. We don't want anyone defending a movie that they don't really, truly care about or can really, truly defend. And you jumped to the defense of Spider-Man 3.
In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. There's not much, but I have at least a fighting chance against the crap that is Amazing Spider-Man. I can't believe I sat there. Guys, you don't understand. I had to watch this movie in 20-minute intervals. It took me a week. This movie is 2 hours and 19 minutes. How can you tell a 2-hour and 19-minute story about a spider kid? No one cares, especially the way they told this story.
Well, I'm glad that you chose Spider-Man 3, because had you chosen Amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't know how I would have been able to defend the dreck that is Spider-Man 3, probably on a short list of hated movies by me at this point, just because of the malicious nature in which it tears apart the Spider-Man mythos. But we'll leave the big guns for a different part of this podcast, because at first I would like to talk about what we thought was good about each of our respected films, and I'll give you the first, I guess, little opportunity to talk to the people at home and let them know not only what was Spider-Man 3 about, but why you think Spider-Man 3 doesn't deserve the bad rep that it gets.
All right, so here we go. Immediately, we jump into these perfect, previously openings that we've had since even the first Spider-Man movie. These little edited comic book strip panel looking stuff. It was great. You introduced everybody's character. You got originally Danny Elfman's score. In this one, you have Christopher Young trying to capture his inner Danny Elfman. A little bit of Jerry Goldsmith. You can hear all the horns and trumpets, and I like that. And then what do we get immediately? Once again, Peter Parker's narration. We always get those nice little Peter Parker narrations that start our story. It wasn't really who am I on Spider-Man, just more of a him now getting into the wave of his life. He's not figuring out who he is. He can't choose between Spider-Man and people anymore. He's found a balance. He's happy with Mary Jane. You go to Mary Jane's play. She's on Broadway. So we get where she wanted to be in the second one. Immediately we see Parker being a nerd. Mary Jane's uncertain of herself. He's just being a nerd about everything. I love all of that. We got I can't really defend the chemistry between the actor and actress, but I really truly believed that nerdy dorky Parker wouldn't be able to be so knight in shining armor in a relationship to his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. He's Parker. He doesn't know about that stuff. He never dated in high school. You see the Harry Osborn sitting from the top of the rafters, and he's giving Parker angry faces. So immediately we're gonna get a fight.
Because Osborn's back, and there is, they have a grudge, as it was shown in the beginning of your film. Peter has been blamed for killing his father. It was revealed
At least the way it looked.
it was revealed to Harry that in a fight with Spider-Man, his father was killed. But yeah, continue. So yeah, Harry is out for blood in this one.
Yeah, and that's what you get. You see, they're arguing on the street. Mary Jane asking him, "Hey, what is it with you guys?" So you can tell off screen between 2 and 3 that they've had bad blood. At least in the Harry Osborn alter ego, not the New Goblin yet, because now we got him coming out of his father's chamber with the green gas. You see, Parker wants to propose to Mary Jane.
Right.
He goes to Aunt May. Aunt May gives him her ring that Ben gave her. So you have all of these elements from 1 and 2 all coming together. It's like a closing chapter, or it's like a closing chapter of 1 and 2 into a new chapter of 3. You know, it wasn't done properly, and a lot of the dialogue was not for me, but it's still the third movie. I get to see the story continue, and that's what's the most important part here, is that the narrative continues to flow. They have their fights, like all couples have their fights. They have their uncertainties, like all couples have their uncertainties, and I liked everything about that. Rewatching younger, I didn't really care about it. I just wanted Spider-Man in a suit. Now that I watched the whole trilogy again, now that I'm older, I can see that everything was a story and it was flowing perfectly. It was flowing great.
Don't forget Sandman.
Oh, I love Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. I like the actor in general, but just his look, the overall visual, even when he doesn't talk. You know, he has his 2 little words like "Who are you?" and all that to Spider-Man when they had that encounter in the armored truck. But other than that, visually, Sandman looked stunning. The CGI behind it was awesome. They weren't just sticking to one little tricks. They had him as like an actual big Sandman type monster. They had him flowing in the wind as like a sandstorm to travel. That was great. All that was great. Who else do we have? We have
Yeah, I think you're missing somebody.
Venom.
Yeah.
Venom was
Was there.
Topher Grace
He was
is
present. Venom was present.
You got me on the
Venom was present.
You know what? It's Sam Raimi, and Sam Raimi does monsters and goblins and ghouls good. And
Right.
I'll say it with that. He does do them nice.
No,
So the design behind Venom was a nice design.
And don't get it twisted. In this round, you are in the safe space. I cannot openly say anything negative about your film, because this is when we're talking about the good portions of each other's films. So I'm just helping you remember portions of your film.
No. Of course.
I'm definitely not hard.
No,
Venom was there and he was present.
We'll wait for that, but
right.
I'm trying myself to really, because this was no easy task. This wasn't easy.
As was the last time we did this episode, which was worse. These films aren't considered great.
We're not here to tell you that we like these films. We're here to try to find the silver lining here, at least.
I mean, I like the Amazing Spider-Man too.
I don't know how.
We'll get there.
But yeah, we had Venom. That was the design of Venom behind Sam Raimi was great. I liked it, and the way Topher Grace played a character in Spider-Man's universe was pretty good. I can't really say he's an Eddie Brock type. But it's the same thing with what's his name, Jesse Eisenberg and Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
It was done all right. Gwen Stacy was in this as really a wedge in the relationship.
Right.
But like to me it was I can't really talk. I gotta say it was forced. It was a forced wedge in the relationship between Mary Jane and Parker. But Bryce Dallas Howard tried her best to unlock her inner Jessica Chastain.
I thought that too. I thought that was getting a little bit of Jessica from her. Yeah.
So, but more now the Uncle Ben story has a new plot, but Sandman turned out to be the one that actually pulled the trigger on Uncle Ben. Now we have Parker with unresolved conflicts, because you're thinking it's the whole time. What's his name? Bill Carradine, Joe Carradine, something Carradine.
Oh man.
Dennis Carradine. I can't remember his name. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
Joe Chill. It was basically Joe Chill. So the whole Sandman plot was pretty good, because now it gives a reason for Peter to be aggressive. Because, all right, if you're going to introduce a symbiote, perfect way to introduce it without it being, like, too much bullcrap factor, a meteor crashes. Why
Yeah.
not? We see it all the time. It was an alien. It was like in the 90s cartoon. Meteor crashes, finds Peter, follows Peter. I don't know why it wasn't built on it. He wasn't raged or aggression yet, so I don't know why it would follow him. But it followed Peter back to his apartment, and now it hooked to him after he found out Sandman was his uncle's killer. Right? It was. He finds out.
No, because once he finds out, he yells at the cop, and then he goes
Oh,
home
he
to
was
sit on the
already in.
chair.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so something was making Peter aggressive for some
Yeah.
reason for the
Maybe
black
it was.
suit.
Maybe Mary Jane had some residual aggression that he was feeding off because she was also with him on that
Yeah.
vehicle.
So now we have the whole black suit, which I kind of liked the design of the black suit. Half liked the design of the black suit.
Right.
I kind of did want the webbing out of the top of the wrist, but that's just me. But I did like the webbing design for Venom though, and how it wasn't white and it was just more black
More
pieces of symbiotes.
More symbiote.
Yeah, I dug that. I dug the sound design behind Venom, like the screeching.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of menacing in a sense. But oh man, this is hard. What else we got about this movie that was I liked a lot of the side characters. Jonah Jameson was great. Why they gave him it makes sense that they gave him heart attacks and heartburn, where he has to keep his blood pressure down. So it makes sense, but if you're gonna keep the guy's blood pressure down, I think buzzing a giant table isn't a way to keep his blood pressure down.
Yeah, that was a little much.
That was a little too much for.
But you do have the return, like you said, of all the characters throughout the trilogy. J. Jonah Jameson, Betty Brant's there.
Sam Raimi's brother.
Aunt May's there. Sam Raimi's brother's there.
At least Aunt May had a lot. I felt Aunt May was really an actual Aunt May in this movie. Okay. Like if you look at the first one, she was just she was more like just there. Like she was literally there until the end where she had to become a damsel in distress.
Uh-huh.
Then in the second movie, now Parker really has more of the feeling guilt weighing in on her. So it's like she's not just there, but she's more in the scenery now. Now they're more using her. But the third one is where now she has her Aunt May speeches that I've always grown to love, either in the comics or different cartoons of Spider-Man.
Right.
Like how Sally Fields, I thought she was a great Aunt May because every time she was on scene, she always did something that was an Aunt May trait.
Right.
But in the third movie, we finally get Aunt May giving these speeches. We get Aunt May asking Peter how his love life. She's coming to check in on him. Never in the second one did she once come to check in on him.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, she was just there, except she played damsel in distress when they needed her to. In both movies. This one, she wasn't a damsel in distress, and they didn't really make her look too old.
Right.
Her hair was actually flowing. I gotta say, her hair was actually really amazing. Like when he went to her apartment.
Yeah.
Like she looked great
Yeah,
in the
her hair
nightgown.
did.
She looked like full of life, like a full of life Aunt May. So Aunt May was a lot more better in this movie, I would say. And I liked the Green Goblin, the new Green Goblin. I mean, I would have liked a better glider,
Right.
not a snowboard. But you know what? It makes more sense. His son isn't the science whiz type. His son would be the more every other guy. I wouldn't really say too much. Well, I guess what? They tried out for basketball? Or was that I think that was Amazing Spider-Man 2. They tried out for the basketball team. All right, so he had a basketball in his house that they were playing and stuff. So I guess Harry would be, in high school, the more sports-centric type guy. So it makes sense that he would have a snowboard instead of, like, the old-fashioned glider. But he did have all the what's it called, artillery his father had.
Yeah,
he had the pumpkin bombs. He had the little pumpkin bats.
He even had like gauntlets.
Yeah, he had like these sabers and stuff. Like, he had like the things on his wrist that like pop out.
Yeah.
Those little blockers. So he had the tech to fight up against Spider-Man, which was, listen, that fight scene, CGI to hell and all, that fight scene was way, way better than you are shoehorned in. Let me stop. Let me not. That fight was done great. And it wasn't even Spider-Man in the suit. I like that it was done at night, that he was outside of his suit, so he caught him when he was vulnerable.
Mm.
It's not like he started a fire like his father did to try and get Spider-Man's attention. Because his father started a fire in the first one to get his attention, to ask him a question.
Yeah.
All to, put him to sleep and then bring him to a building somewhere else. This one, he legit picked him up and threw him through a window. Harry did not care. He was out for blood, and the fight was done great. You know, Spider-Man was getting cut up in this. He's actually getting stopped in a way. Like, he's being able to get the upper hand on him. So it was done good. And then you get this, I guess I would say forced amnesia plot for like half the movie where now Harry is womp womp, 80s clueless. Let's make eggs and drop them on the floor. Wah wah. Look at the camera with the pop music
Yeah,
playing.
it gets a little wonky there.
It gets so it was like when remember It from the 1990
Yeah.
and this part 2 when Bill and not George what's his name, Tim Reed's character, when they met up again when they were like in their 40s.
Oh, and they're all
and the first thing they do is have that riding bicycles in the parking lot scene.
Like, come on.
Oh my god! It was just the two of them just riding bicycles in the
much.
parking lot, and they're like grown men, by the library. Like,
Yeah,
it was wonky.
Yeah, it was a little too much.
So,
but you get Venom in your film, and you get Sandman in your film. Spider-Man is able to save the day, as he does in majority of these films. What do you have last to say in your defense of Spider-Man 3?
lastly to say is really, they were like, you feel a lot of these relationship moments between Parker and MJ. You feel a lot of the twists and the turns and the betrayals because you've been following these characters now for 5 years. Since 2002, you've been following this love triangle. You've been following that, oh my God, my father died and it's Spider-Man's fault. Oh my God, Parker, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
So you get a lot of closing chapters. You get a lot of, closed loops. I get to see everything done, and there's not a fourth film. Harry dies at the end of this. Mary Jane and Peter are together. He's still Spider-Man. She's, I guess, content being a cocktail waitress singer. Aunt May is Aunt May. She's got about, 127 hours left?
Yep. It's usually how that works.
So, we get a lot. You see, you don't need a fourth one here. And that's what I liked done better in Spider-Man 3 than Amazing Spider-Man 2, because you have room for at least 2 more sequels. At least 2. Because now you're giving us Sinister Six subplots and Easter eggs. And anybody else that don't know narrative and don't know storytelling and how sequels work, they would just see it as Easter eggs and nods to the fans. I'm looking at it as, oh my God, we can get a Sinister Six movie done under Sony and Columbus Pictures. This would have been great. And Spider-Man 3 didn't need a fourth. So everybody quit at the end. Everybody was having studio problems, and no one wanted to have any emotions. All right, well, you basically gave us a trilogy. You closed it out. So the narrative was there. There was enough story structure to hold out the crappy dialogue.
All right. So you think your saving grace of your film is the narrative?
Basically, the story structure was done way better. The narrative was done way better.
I dig it. Well, I'll get into defending and explaining Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, and there are great things in it. There's at least 2 good moments in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, no.
2?
I'll get into Amazing Spider-Man 2 because you know what Amazing Spider-Man 2 is about? Amazing Spider-Man 2 is about love. And not only love, but true love. And whether that's love for your family members or love for your significant other,
500 Days of Spider-Man.
It's about what love can make you do. And sometimes what love makes you do without you even noticing, because love makes you do some crazy things, doesn't it? It makes you make some promises that you probably can't keep. It makes you spend unhealthy amount of hours just paying attention to your significant others to make sure that they're okay.
The most creepiest way ever.
It pushes you further than you think you can go, because you already know that if you were going to fall and if you're going to fall back, you're going to fall back into the arms of, guess what? Love.
The ground.
Of your loved ones. When push comes to shove, Amazing Spider-Man opens up with Peter Parker doing something that I think he did in your first movie.
No.
Graduate.
That movie started with Dark Knight Rises plane crash scene.
Oh, don't let me get into that, because I can get into that. My movie starts off with the Parkers in general.
Dick Parker.
Backstory on Peter Parker's parents, something that your trilogy just decided to just ignore
wholeheartedly. Who cares about Parker's parents? It's about Aunt May.
It's about Aunt May. Your movie
when it comes down to his family, Uncle Ben is gone. We never get to see his parents. And then all those.
First of all, your film
It's all okay.
relegated Aunt May to just a coffee pot scene or something like that.
Nah, they really
Teapot
they
scene.
really did ruin her
So
though.
it's not about Aunt May. It's about what makes up Peter. And they didn't want it to just be another, well, we'll just follow Aunt May around. So we're going to give Peter Parker some backstory with his parents, something that is actually comic accurate. All that spy stuff and all that espionage stuff.
Yeah, I heard
Comic
that.
accurate.
I was looking up comic books to see which ones that they were like whistleblower CIA agents.
Listen, they are comic book accurate to to Parker's origins, to Parker in general, and so it opens up with that. It opens up with the fact that I guess you could say Peter Parker has had courage and doing the right thing in his blood. You see that with his parents, and then you see him do the right thing by attending. Well, graduation. I guess it's not doing the right thing, but he's actually being celebrated for staying the course this entire time, for doing well in all his classes and being able to sit there with the valedictorian
Because he's a
Gwen
nerd.
Stacy.
He's a that's who Peter Parker is. That's his characteristics. He's a book smart nerd. He's a bookworm. That's the word.
Yeah, but
he's a bookworm.
they could have went the whole route and just made him top of the class. But they
No,
made
wasn't
Gwen
he
top
always?
of the class.
But wasn't he always like number 2 to Gwen in the comics? Was it
Yeah,
like
which
like
is
that's
better.
a-
Which I would guess would be
I
better
actually
than
like
wasting
that.
your time
I
on like
do-
a waitress
Yeah,
or
no.
some sort of or some sort of floozy.
No, but, I
from,
do like that because I remember that
from
she
the-
was always like number 1 to Parker when it came down to like science. Like she was always one above him.
That's another thing with love. When you want to be in love with somebody who is running ahead of you, so that you could be trying to exceed
Yeah, that
your
rate-
own limitations and stuff like that.
Yeah, and their
W-
chemistry was great.
You don't
I
you
gotta
don't
say.
date someone who isn't moving at all, because it's gonna make you not move at all, and the next thing you know, you're both at home arguing all the time about ridiculous things like, oh, I got some reviews about my terrible singing performance in the newspaper, which is exactly what happens in your film. But I digress. My film starts off with the true heartbreak of love, which is the idea that sometimes when we need to let go of it, we're not able to. We don't have the strength because we think that we only have strength in love. Peter's supposed to give up this relationship with Gwen Stacy because he promised George Stacy right before he died that he would be away from Gwen so that Gwen wouldn't have to get hurt, because everybody near Spider-Man will eventually get hurt, especially if they find out who Peter Parker is. So he tries to, break up with Gwen, who's not too happy about it, but ends up, stalking her throughout. They kind of reconcile and decide they could try to make it work, even though she had some very humongous, life-altering changes ahead of her. My girl got into Oxford in England and was about to go overseas. It was between her and some 14-year-old, and she was about to cost him his dreams to make sure that she can go to Oxford in England, because
All
she wanted
for
to
what?
just
For what? Where did it go? Did she go to England?
Wait,
Did the poor
wait.
girl go to England?
wait. So she's
Poor girl
supposed
didn't go to
she's
England.
supposed to be going to Oxford. She's supposed to be going to England, and Peter's there to support her all the way, to the point that just in their thread line, which is what I'm talking about initially, he tells her he loves her while she's en route to England, and tells her not only does he love her, but he's gonna go wherever she goes, because that's what his new vow is in life. If they're going to England, they're gonna go to England, and he'll fight crime in England, because there's got to be some crime in England, isn't there? And she was like, yeah, there's tons of it. You can just go over there and fight crime. And he would have been the Spider-Man of England. They were both gonna go. He would follow her to the ends of the earth, and that was something that not only was said in my movie, but I believed in my movie, and I don't think you can say the same. So while love is obviously the foundation of this movie is also founded on the idea that life is unfair sometimes. Life is unfair probably most of the time. If you don't have that love that I was talking about before, that love that can empower you and inspire you.
You want to talk
and
about
make you to
unfair?
be
Poor Harry.
more.
Poor Harry not only lost his father, but seemingly thought his best friend killed his father. Then found out his butler held a secret from him for 5
Sounds
years.
like a dumb
Then
family
lost
guy.
half of his face, and then got stabbed through the heart and stomach just like his father. That is You want to talk about unfair? That is unfair.
That is unfair because that all seems like unfair coincidences. Or one would even call them plot conveniences that they were unfairly structured just to give him some strife.
Okay,
Meanwhile,
so it just so happens that Electro was
meanwhile-
attacking the power plant just when Peter Parker was professing his undying love, and they were about to run away together. As soon as they were going to make it to the airport, all of a sudden, Electro was attacking the power plant.
As you know, everything with these Osborns is cold and calculated, and we meet Harry Osborn in my film, and
The
Norman,
19-year-old alcoholic
and Norman Osborn.
dying of McGregor syndrome.
You have Norman Osborn on death's door, dying from some sort of goblin-esque disease that's going to be passed down hereditarily.
Retroviral hyperplasia. It
yes.
runs in our blood.
And so
You can feel it.
He
Such a waste of
scared,
Chris Cooper.
scared, sir, to get into his to succumb to, I guess, his family's curse of this disease. Harry does some research, basically figures out that spiders have healing capabilities, and that Spider-Man should have healing capabilities because he has.
Which
the
is
blood
basically why
of
Parker's
radioactive
parents
spider.
died in the first place. Because the whole reason this man had all of these animal testings is to find what blood is it that would cure his disease. Come to find out, it's Parker's family blood that made the spiders. Those spiders what is that? What kind of Jason Bourne Mission Impossible?
I don't get the magic spider blood, but if you want to get into how ridiculous magic spider blood is, you're gonna have to get into how ridiculous radioactive spider blood is, and unless you're prepared to knock all of that off,
that first movie just brushed it under the table. They're like, listen, he got bit by a spider. That's it. You don't got to worry about it. You know, shoo.
Yeah.
They
It brushed a
it
lot
off
of things on
quick,
this,
'cause
like
no one cared.
organic webbing. It brushed a lot of things.
That was
under the
low.
table.
That was low, even for you.
That's brushed it under the table. Yeah,
That was beneath you.
now he has open glands in his wrist that can shoot and eject web fluid. Does he need to eat extra for that? Is there any kind of biological things, like did it replace his veins?
At least he doesn't have to run
in
out of
his
webbings. Which is something I would have loved for Mark Webb to do in your movies, to see him at
Spider-Man running out of webbings is literally a Spider-Man thing. It's the whole.
Yes, but did we get it in any of these movies?
You saw what happened when a web shooter broke in my movie. My web shooter breaks in my movie, and
and
puts him in a position to get
web shooter
creative
breaking in both of them.
There's several Spider-Man comics that go into maybe a training session here with Iron Fist or a training session here with somebody else, but for the most part, all of Spider-Man's offense is creative. Your Spider-Man not only has no creative offense, but takes a beating in every single one of his films.
No creative offense.
Seeing as we're only talking about three, if he wasn't saved by Green Goblin, he would have just died.
What fight scenes are even in Amazing Spider-Man 2?
When he goes one-on-one with the Rhino, when he goes one-on-one with
2
Electro,
minutes.
when he goes
2
one-on-one
minutes.
with Electro again.
Like 2 minutes. They
And
were
when he
each
goes
2 minutes.
one-on-one with
And then
Green
the rest
Goblin.
we get montages of him opening his closet door, taking off his shirt.
Anyone can say how long these fights were. These fights not only existed, but they were better in my film because we had two honest-to-God sympathetic villains here. Regardless of whether or not you would have shook these men hand on the street, you probably would have looked at them. You're probably one of those people.
Oh,
who
I'm
would have
tired
looked
of
at
sympathetic villains.
Dillon.
You want to know why Venom was the better villain in my movie than any of the villains that were in your movie? Because he wasn't a sympathetic villain. I'm tired of seeing sympathetic villains. I want to see a villain who's just bad because he likes being bad. And that was Eddie Brock's thing when he was Venom. He even said it. I'm evil because I just like it. I'm good at it. That's great. That's a villain. That's a villain.
Yet the other half of your movie is spent humanizing a man who is going to kill multiple people to get a drug for his daughter.
You know, that's Thomas Hayden Church, sympathy. And he gets a win with me. I get
sympathy,
but I give
Tom.
I give both Thomas Hayden Church and Paul Giamatti both just free pass wins in my book because what I read was Paul Giamatti was having fun on set. So even
because my movie was fun. Because
that movie was definitely not fun. Let's not get carried away.
My movie shows that even at the end of it, my movie deals with the iconic historic death of Gwen Stacy.
They had the absolute goal. I did not get enough time to appreciate that relationship for that kill to do anything to me.
First of all,
all that kill did was disrespectful.
First of all, that's absolute hyperbole because you know that in my movie alone, there was more chemistry between Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker than anything in your trilogy.
Yes, but I needed more movies.
But if you give me two, if you want to give me two movies now, my two is double everything in your trilogy. That was enough time for that girl, and she served her purpose. And plus, you're not supposed to get to the level of, yeah, I'm all right with it. You're supposed to feel robbed. You're supposed to feel like this could have went on longer because they thought it could go on longer. So the fact that happened, it happened. Now
they would have just given me a trilogy and then kill her.
Besides Mary Jane, the only storyline probably more iconic than the death of Gwen Stacy is the birth of Venom. So you want to talk about gall? You want to talk about disrespect? You want to talk about out and out just tomfoolery? You milked the biggest cash cow that Spider-Man had to offer and killed a franchise in doing so. You BVS'd it, bro. You took too many comics, you mushed them together and tried to get it to work, and it didn't work.
And how many different storylines did you have running in your movie? You had Parker's parents. You had Spider-Man trying to figure out who Parker's parents. You had the Max Dillon story. You had the Osborn story. You had the Gwen and Parker love story. You have Peter and Mary Jane. You had way too many things going on.
There was no Mary Jane in my film. There would never be a
Not Mary
Jane.
Jane. Aunt May.
There
Aunt May. That's all. There's Aunt May. There was Aunt May. There was more screen time of Aunt May being a nurse than there was of Electro. Like,
yeah,
get out of here.
But mine wasn't an emotional punching bag. Mine wasn't getting knocked around for 30 minutes between a girl who could care less for him, a job that doesn't really want to fully hire him, and then these emo spurts because of some alien symbiote.
But he was always a freelance, and that's what J. Jonah Jameson offered him in the first movie. Freelance, even better than having a job. Best thing in the world.
Almost got the job taken right out underneath him because of Eddie Brock.
Okay, and that's great. That's conflict.
Mr. Jameson, with due respect, I've been taking pictures here too. Man up, Parker, nut up, and say, excuse me? I've been working at this company.
Of course.
You're right. He's a dork.
He's
a dork.
He's
and it works when you're a teenager. It works when you're a teenager, and mine was playing near early 20s. So he has angst. He has some problems. He's gonna be moody. No. When you're moody when you're 30,
no, your Parker's too
you're just
confident.
An asshole at that
way
point.
Too confident. Way too teenage angst.
That's
can't
the guy
deal with that.
I want to hang out with, though. I want to hang out
yes,
with that guy.
Yes, but my Peter
I don't
Parker
hang out with your
my Peter Parker.
If
you're
because
if you're,
we're gonna
if
end
your
up in a
Superman
jazz club, and he's gonna
brooding,
smack someone, and I'm gonna get into a bar fight. Is that the kind of guy I want to hang out with?
Because he had the symbiote.
No,
it was penting his rage. It was penting his aggression.
As a matter of fact, he's such a great friend. He didn't give Harry the blood he needed because it would have killed him. It would have done what it did. That Green Goblin.
You're telling me with all those decay algorithm crap from the first one, he didn't have a synthesized formula to be able to give Harry to make it himself?
No, maybe this is the Osborn curse.
He helped.
Maybe the Osborns have done some kind of sadistic thing, and
he didn't want to do no
sadistic
thing. He just didn't want to die. He was a 19-year-old alcoholic that didn't want to die.
Oh, I'm sympathized with Harry. I think my Harry's a lot better than I hit my head. I'm Harry Osborn. Do you want to make an omelet?
You hit your head that hard and still see if you know how to do math.
Do you want to make an omelet? Harry, it's 4:00 in the afternoon. Eggs. And then they just went and made an omelet.
Good time anytime. Your fans will tell you that.
Oh, my God.
You ever had breakfast for dinner?
If those eggs were any worth a damn, they're not worth a damn now. They're all over the floor because neither one of them knows how to damn flip an omelet or when to flip an omelet, which takes place in the Worser film.
Look at the camera and smile and put your hands to the side. Womp womp.
You can write off how great you could be like, yeah, you had good chemistry in your film. No. My film is built on chemistry. It's built on the delivery of dialogue by Andrew Garfield.
Cool. So it was great watching a romance movie, but not a Spider-Man movie. What? You had no Spider-Man.
Your Spider-Man movie has a complete failed proposal. What are you talking about? Romance movie. Remember that whole thing? I'm gonna tell the love of my life that I love her. While the girl that I kiss on stage randomly pops up, and while the girl that I'm bringing, that's me opening a can of whoop ass, by the way. The girl that I'm with can't be even forced to dress up. Mary Jane, you're wearing a terrible cocktail dress. And maybe if she was wearing something better, Peter would have just asked her right off the jump. But he got into a whole thing about himself because your Peter is tone deaf. Being a dork doesn't have anything to do with being tone deaf. You could be kind of like socially awkward, but your guy doesn't even understand.
He was being humble and nice.
When he was hanging upside down kissing another woman, he was being humble and nice?
That's Spider-Man. That's somebody different.
You know what's somebody being humble and nice? That's Spider-Man not big-leaguing a kid in front of Rhino, taking a knee, taking a talk with him, sending him on his way. That's humble Spider-Man. My Spider-Man was humble. My Spider-Man helps a kid put a propeller experiment back together just to show him, hey, kid, I like that. That's cool. Being smart is cool, too. That's what Spider-Man says. My Spider-Man is humble.
Your Spider-Man also watches bootleg Bill Nye YouTube videos because he doesn't know how to science. Are you kidding me?
I had my Parker spies go into your logs, and they told me that this is one of your little things you're going to try to pull. And all I have to say about this is just because a scientist knows something doesn't mean it doesn't bounce those ideas off of other
But
scientists.
this was
to
fourth
figure
grade
out.
science that Gwen was schooling him on. She even
Listen.
said it. Don't you remember fourth grade when you magnetize a battery?
What do you remember in fourth grade?
Well, I didn't pay attention in fourth
Do you
grade.
remember?
But I'm not a
There's
book
a lot
nerd
of-
like Peter Parker
There's a lot of
is.
things about math. There's a lot of things about history. Some things just fall out of your head, especially when you're trying to learn about Roosevelt and you're Googling Roosevelt train stations.
On the
and doing things.
Since when does Roosevelt go? Since when does the D go to Roosevelt?
It was abandoned. It was abandoned. They said.
This was abandoned.
Abandoned.
Okay, so the D used to go to Roosevelt when that. Oh
This was
my
abandoned
God.
like most theaters when Spider-Man 3 came out, all right? This was abandoned. So
Oh,
you don't
all
have to worry
right.
about that.
Oh, okay.
All I'm saying
Okay.
is my Spider-Man was humble. My Spider-Man was funny. Funny. Oh, go back to humble. Chilling with the NYPD.
All right,
Chilling with
I
the,
can't
with the
say nothing
NY.
about him when Andrew Garfield was in the suit. That was pure perfect. Until Tom Holland, that was to me the perfect Spider-Man. Parker, not so much.
And seeing him
Spider-Man,
with Gwen,
perfect.
seeing him with Gwen as Parker showed you that there was a Parker that was happy. There's no Parker that's happy in your film. At no point when he is not in the suit is he happy. Someone's giving him gruff.
Sometimes superheroes don't need to be
Someone's
happy.
Nah.
Iron
because
Man
then
was
that
never
creates,
happy.
That creates Iron Man and Tony Stark are the same person. Everyone knows that. They know. Remember, I am Iron Man. That happens in the first film. Your guy's hiding behind a mask, which means he's hiding in a whole other life because his whole first life is crap.
Have you ever tried to be a superhero? I imagine that must be hard. And that's everything that we had from Spider-Man 2, where he was basically losing his powers.
It's hard for a regular man to be a superhero. That's why only good men can be superheroes.
Because
I don't know
Spider-Man
how
was an
Tobey
everyman.
Maguire.
Spider-Man was
I don't know
the
how Tobey
definition-
Maguire got the role, and I don't
Well,
know. I
that's-
don't know. I don't know
that
how
shit
all
beyond
that
me.
happened. But the guy that they wrote in Spider-Man 3 is not a good hero. He's just not. My Spider-Man movie had stakes. The entirety of Times Square comes crashing down on the citizens of New York.
Your Times Square scene was bogus, and you know it. That Times Square scene was
You
horrible.
say that because you live here and you know that it didn't actually blow up. If it was
It's
from
not
any
even
other
that.
town,
The score, the voice, that villainous voice that was in Electro's head was apparently in the score. The get him, ha ha, they are laughing, ha
he
ha.
was hearing things. He was hearing things.
In the
That's
score? Why'd you have
was
to put it in the
listening.
score? That was so horrible to
hearing-
just
he
hear.
was
It was
hearing
eye
voices.
rolling and
The
cringy.
man was electrocuted. I'm pretty sure there's going to be
Didn't
some
you
kind
know?
of residual.
I'm Electro.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be some sort of residual effects of that going on. And while I'm dealing with Electro, who seems to be, related to Dr. Manhattan in some kind of way, your movie just straight up rips off the Mummy, and you have you have all those weird sand sequences going around with all that Imhotep
Okay, but
stuff.
you had Electro
Imhotep.
Times Square scene for 2 minutes, and
Imhotep.
then he's gone for the rest of the movie until the end, and then he's there for another 2 minutes to go through power converters to make Spider-Man's Itsy Bitsy Spider song.
Yeah, but your movie Googles xenomorph yell and uses it 17 times to describe that that's how Venom would scream, I guess. Does Venom scream? He's never screamed to my knowledge, but hey, screw it. We're in a
He's
Sam
an
Raimi
alien symbiote.
movie.
It's a different
and
interpretation.
they just scream. He saw Alien and just Googled Alien and said, how do they sound? And okay, we'll just put that in there. That works. They're fine.
Yeah, but Sam Raimi is great at tackling monsters like these. Evil Dead, Book of Evil.
I mean,
He's
great.
great at tackling.
I
Yeah.
mean, good.
Drag Me to Hell? Come
Good.
on, man.
I give you
Sam
a good.
Sam Raimi is great.
I'll give you a good. I'll give you a pat on the back. I don't know about great. You can't just be throwing great around there like that. That's how you get movies like yours. Because people are like, oh, it would be a great idea? A third
Amazing
Spider-Man movie.
2, yeah.
A third Spider-Man movie. You talk
Do
all
we
this.
even need to
you
reboot
don't-
this
no,
movie
but
10 years after?
but
Was
you
it even
talk-
10 years?
And here's another thing. You talk all this craziness. You know they have rights issues. They have to reboot it every so often, or else they won't get to maintain the rights. But you say like, oh, what makes Amazing Spider-Man bad is the breadcrumbs that leads to the sequels and all this other kind of stuff. They were gonna do a sequel to your film just because they didn't put the breadcrumb down, and I would argue that they did. Where did that whole thread go with that little boy? That he's such a huge fan of Spider-Man's, and he keeps his. Remember when they're packing in the backyard or whatever the hell?
Oh,
whatever the hell's going on
God.
there?
Oh, that 10-year-old boy that
what's
she used
up-
to babysit or
what's
something.
going on? What's going on with that? That got to go somewhere, and I can't.
And what's going to happen with that little boy that almost got himself squashed by the rhino?
And Peter, no, he's fine. As you know from the end of that movie, that he's fine. That was such a great that scene at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2 is
God,
great.
so forced.
If you didn't see it in trailers and you weren't spoiled, because I wasn't personally, I didn't see it in trailers. It was fine. You go see in the beginning of the movie and you see Alexei Svedzik.
Something.
You see him in
Generic Russian bad guy
but
with.
you see him driving a truck, and you're like, oh, I know that guy's name. His name is like the Rhino, but he's not the Rhino, obviously, because he's just driving this truck. And then he gets stopped, and then later on, you see him in a full mechanized Rhino suit. It's the idea realized. It's tremendous.
Oh,
It'd be
God,
like
God,
it'd
that
be like
scene
if in
was-
the beginning,
I
it'd be
hate
like
that
in
suit.
it'd be like if in the beginning of a Batman movie, you saw this guy named some guy getting carted out of a
Oswald
hospital.
Cobblepot or something.
Some guy getting carted out of a hospital in handcuffs, and they're like, "That's the last time you're gonna use steal supplies, Dr. Crane," or something like that. And then the end of that Batman film, Batman has to suit up to fight the Scarecrow. It's like, oh, this all leads up. It was a narrative set from the beginning. It all works.
I would have taken a mecha suit if it was done better. That mecha suit was just so like
It looks like a rhino.
big and
It looked like a rhino.
it didn't look nothing like a rhino.
look like a
It
rhino.
looked nothing.
It
All
looked
it
like
had
a
was a
rhino.
giant horn like a
Your
rhino.
guy looked nothing like Venom. How about that? How about
Touche.
that?
Touche. He was too skinny.
I
Way too small.
I will concede that my movie is too much.
Oh,
movie.
that Malexio Savage.
I will say my movie is too much movie, but it's two good movies. I think
Your
if you
movie
cut
had like
mine in
8
half,
bad guys. People complain that Spider-Man 3 had too much villains. Your movie had like 8 comic book bad guys.
Yeah, but you also had guys coming for your rent. You had guys coming for your job. You had guys coming for
But
everything.
that okay, you don't have nobody coming for your rent when rent's due? You don't
No,
got nobody at your
no.
job trying to come for your position?
But I also don't have a disrespectful girlfriend who does nothing that.
Okay,
nothing
we
to
were
help
blessed
me.
with non-disrespectful girlfriends. Doesn't mean somebody out there isn't, cursed with a disrespectful girlfriend.
I don't want to hear that story. I don't want to hear the story about the guy who picked wrong. I want to hear the story about the
But
guy who's doing
that's
things
the
right.
thing about Parker. He's an everyman.
I
He's
don't
an
want-
everyman.
He's every slub. He's a
not-
slub. And, I
And
don't
every
want
man is a slub.
Nah. Listen, the characterization of Spider-Man changes when you do an Ultimate Spider-Man. And then you get those kind of cartoons, stuff like that. He became a little bit more cooler. Yeah, he had bullies and stuff, but the guy wasn't rocking glasses and
Your
a cardigan
villain
anymore.
transformation was at that of Catwoman.
Your guy is one sweater vest away from opening up Barnes & Nobles himself. I don't understand why they went so deep and dark. I guess they were trying to invoke Christopher Reeves maybe with your Spider-Man, and that's fine. But that OG Williker
okay,
stuff.
listen. Your Spider-Man bit off almost every single Christopher Nolan Batman. It had the it had an opening plane crash like Dark Knight Rises. It had the let her go Green Goblin, okay, like in Batman Returns. It has the I'm not gonna kill you, but I ain't gonna save you either, like in Dark Knight, like in Batman Begins. Like, come on. You had Riddler in this movie by Max Dillon, which, by the way, you had a villain transformation at that of Catwoman. When that eel looked at Max Dillon right before he bit him, all I kept seeing was Catwoman when the cats kept looking at
That's ridiculous.
Holly Berry.
That's ridiculous.
These movies that movie was biting off every single bad comic book movie to
Your-
make the worst comic book movie.
Just because your Ang Lee Sandman transformation scene should have existed in a different movie and happened to fall into yours somehow doesn't mean that you guys get any credit for any kind of cool origins. Because as far as that's concerned, Venom, like you said, that character, Topher Grace, could have been playing anybody. You should have called him Topher Grace. That sounds like a damn comic book character's name. And you could have just went that way with it.
Damn,
and he
that's
could have just
horrible.
been a news reporter, a rival news reporter, but they made him Eddie Brock, and so they killed the character Eddie Brock dead in the water, and that is unexcusable. I think that your Spider-Man in and out of the suit looks like a 40-year-old depressed man. And I think that every time that you try to take him seriously, like, you can sit and look at skinny Spider-Man and be like, oh, that guy's obviously kind of crazy, and so he's probably rocking that. But Peter looks too well put together as a guy. He seems like somebody's accountant. He seems like he can co-sign somebody's credit. He seems like one of those people, and yet he chooses to walk around in that ridiculous outfit, and I can't put those two and two together. My guy has openings in his
Peter
glasses.
Parker is one 45-minute angle away from ending up in a psych ward stalking
Which
poor Gwen Stacy.
But mine is extreme and to the edge. Mine probably should have been the one with the snowboard Green Goblin thing, but yours had. Why? Because your Harry Osborn was adult. And then he shows up in the third act to kill himself, basically. It's terrible. All of it's garbage. All your villains commit suicide.
We don't know what happened with Spider-Man. We don't with Sandman. We don't know what happened with Sandman.
Sorry. Sandman didn't commit suicide. You let that mass murderer go.
Because he forgave him.
Oh,
He forgave him.
Good. I'm glad
Remember,
he was forgiven.
Sandman wasn't a bad guy.
Talk
really.
about
It
being
was-
judge, jury, and
he was a-
executioner. He's off the hook, guys. He
was-
apologized to me on the roof. He's off
This
the hook.
motherfucker.
We're
Listen,
good.
Oh, he was just trying to, his daughter was dying of some sort of McGregor syndrome. Everybody's dying of McGregor syndrome.
And so
apparently.
was Harry. And you ain't got no sympathy for Harry, so I ain't got no sympathy for Sandman and his Blue's Clues shirt. He needs to take his Home Depot khakis and he needs to get out of this film. And maybe there would have been some room for a cool Venom, but we didn't have time.
And if you would have,
we didn't have the money.
If you would have taken take Electro out of this entire movie, and just give me Rhino, and that's it. I would have probably tolerated this movie.
Rhino and Green Goblin.
Getting Green Goblin at the end for a final act, 20-minute fight, which would have been a lot better than this shoehorned in fight sequence that was in a bell tower, edited and chopped to holy hell. You don't even know what's happening. You just know that at any moment Gwen Stacy's supposed to fall and die. That's it. That's all you know. You're just sitting there waiting. Okay, at any moment she's gonna fall. There you go. Pumpkin bomb. Bang. She fell. Uh-oh. Crack.
You want to talk about Pumpkin Bombs? You want to talk about Pumpkin Bombs, hero?
That scene was awesome, and
awesome and out of character.
That scene was
not
out of character when he has the symbiote.
That entire scene might as well have been Man of Steel because it was cool, but it just puts a crack in the veneer. That's all it does. That's all your film does, actually.
He has the symbiote on, so you can just know that once he has that symbiote, there is no more Peter Parker.
He doesn't have the symbiote because if for some reason your movie throws the symbiote away, he has the symbiote suit. It's an actual suit you have to put on.
Okay, fine. Symbiote suit.
Why? Why was that a thing?
Avi Arad. I blame Avi Arad.
Was he trying to sell these suits on
I don't know what. Maybe he was
trying.
I think that was supposed to be a Halloween costume of that. Hey, Ricky, we got a new Halloween costume.
You don't gotta pick the black suit. You can just pick the others. That's not how that works. It's an alien. It needs to live off of your human. It needs to live off of organisms in general. When it latches onto him, it's to live. There's no reason why it would then fold itself and put itself in the closet and say, well, I'll just wait till he picks me up on Thursday to get more nutrients. It stays on you.
And there's no
forever.
reason that Harry Osborn should be dying of McGregor syndrome, being a 19-year-old alcoholic.
And there's no reason why.
I just don't like that they made him 19 years old drinking scotch, full on pouring himself glasses of scotch. It's underage drinking, and I can't support underage
what's wrong
drinking.
With being 19-year-old drinking scotch?
I can't support underage drinking.
I don't think you can be against something that you've done, though. That's my personal Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, well, don't. I suggest
lead by example. Now I can't.
I dig that. You can. Well, you're supposed to lead by example, but if you don't want to lead by example, then I would suggest if you don't want your 19-year-old son to drink at 19, not to give him whiskey.
That's what your Harry Osborn. No, your Norman Osborn did. Your Norman Osborn gave his son.
My Norman Osborn's a villain. That's how that works. That's how it's always worked. He's Green Goblin. That's his thing. It's his shtick.
Yeah, literally with the pointed ears and the long nails. Oh my
god. Or maybe we should pay an award-winning actor to wear a big metal bike helmet on his face.
My movie having suicide. Your movie brings in people's parents to just die in one scene.
They die. People die. People die all the time, B.
Well, then you can't get mad when Venom kills himself.
Venom kills himself.
Because Eddie Brock didn't really kill himself. He was stupid. He was blind. He didn't think
Harry basically kills himself.
No, he sacrificed himself.
Oh, well,
that's self-sacrifice. That is noble. That's noble. When you're a villain and you have a change of heart.
Was that before or after he kissed his fiance?
After.
Oh, well, there we go. Change of heart.
Change of heart scene.
Change of heart scene or change of script scene? Because that seems like that's all that Spider-Man 3 is. Change the script. It's like when you see Alice in Wonderland, change places.
Okay, and Andrew Garfield got fired off the set because he talked crap about Sony while he was filming.
He wasn't.
It wasn't after.
He wasn't there to be a Sony actor. He was there to be a Spider-Man actor. That man, cried tears of joy when he first donned the Spider-Man outfit
because he's talk shit about the company that hired him.
He's a true fan. He's a Marvel fan. He don't give a damn about this Sony stuff.
Okay, well then why isn't he in MCU? Because they got a better actor to play Spider-Man.
They got a younger actor to play Spider-Man.
They got a better actor to play
Spider-Man.
Tom Holland is great.
And they got to worry about when his balls drop for the next film. So they got their own problems ahead of them. But Andrew Garfield is a fan. We're living in a beautiful time right now where fans are now becoming creators of the things that they were fans of. And because they were fans to begin with, they're elevating this kind of stuff.
Yeah, just like Edge was sitting in Madison Square Garden watching Jimmy Fly snooker.
And becomes one of the greatest superstars of all time, one of the most decorated of all time, and a Hall of Famer. Now, I bet you Toby, I got to look back, but I bet you Toby was one of those, I never picked up a comic book. I'm just going to do my own twist of
You
it.
never know.
I'm pretty
never
sure.
know.
Everyone was saying that in the 2000s. Bryan Singer didn't let no one read comic books on the set of X-Men. Because what do you need comic books for?
Well, not letting anybody read comics and and growing up reading,
And
not reading comics are two different things.
And you're telling me Tobey Maguire was knocking back Ben Reilly Spider-Man in the 1990s?
I can see Tobey Maguire being more of a DC fan, to be honest with you. I could see him reading like Martian Manhunter.
He seems like a My Little Pony fan.
Yeah.
All right?
Brony. They're called bronies.
Babysitter's Club.
Derogatory. Babysitter's Club was fantastic. Come on,
was all right.
You can't deny Babysitter's Club.
Yeah, it was okay. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a true leading man in Andrew Garfield in my film, who no one's feeling sorry for. You can feel sorry for him when he's sad, but throughout the film, yours is just trying to make us, oh, Peter. Oh, Peter Rent. Oh, Peter, the Reading Ring.
There was only
Peter.
a one Rent scene.
There was a Rent scene?
Spider-Man 2, I would say there was too many scenes of rent. Every other scene where he's walking into his house, his landlord was asking rent. But thank God there was only one where's the rent scene. So at least they stopped that crap, because that stuff wasn't fun.
Well, I'm glad you're there to clarify what was, because all your film does is talk about what was and then what wasn't, right? Because they were going to get married and they weren't. They were in a relationship and happily together, then they weren't.
I think there was more movie than there was Spider-Man scenes in your movie. I think there was about 25 minutes of Spider-Man in a 2-hour movie.
But the Spider-Man scenes in my movie eclipse anything your movie ever did.
Oh, listen, now you're reaching. Now you're reaching for the top shelf.
Spider-Man holding a fire hose and wearing a fireman's helmet in the streets of New York in Times Square beats anything in Spider-Man 3.
Now you're really, really reaching.
What you got? What you got?
That fight scene with Sandman in the underground tunnel with the train.
Oh,
that
you're talking about the other
great.
scene that was unlike Spider-Man. The other day
he was already in the black suit.
Yeah, but you might as well have put that in Spawn, and it would have been the same scene. Or Blade, where it did happen, and it was a better scene.
You got the fight with Harry and Spider-Man still that I was still to defend. Between Harry and Peter, actually.
Where Harry is jacked to the gills with an experimental drug and has an armory of weapons, bombs, daggers, and all kinds of knives. And Spider-Man's been Spider-Man for, what do you say, 5 years at this point?
Yeah.
And they're even. Their prowess fighting the same.
Well, they never really showed any of the Spider-Man movies. They never showed this Spider-Man really being a fighter.
Because he's not. Your Spider-Man isn't.
Exactly. He's a.
And I'm not there to watch a guy who doesn't want to fight.
It's not a guy who doesn't want to fight. What punch did Spider-Man throw in any of the '90s cartoons? Spider-Man threw not one punch in any of the 90s cartoons. The problem with your Spider-Man
is he gets his ass kicked constantly. He got his ass kicked by Green Goblin and almost died.
Because they're going for a Spider-Man that didn't have his own martial art yet.
But he has superpowers. It doesn't matter about having a martial art.
Okay, just because I'm super strong doesn't mean I know how to throw a punch.
But it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. If you've seen Luke Cage or Superman doesn't have to know Taekwondo. He can flick you and he will kill you. That's how that works. And with that confidence,
that's why you have the webs. That's why he webs up bad guys. That's why he always shoots his web balls.
But why didn't that work against Harry?
Because Harry is an actual, a man. At the end of the day, Spider-Man is a dude. Harry is a man. That's what I mean. Parker is a dude, but Harry is a man.
I don't know.
Look at the body on James Franco.
What?
Look at the muscles.
To look at the body on
the muscles on that man, James Franco.
Look at the body on Emma Stone.
Well, yeah. Let me. I can't.
No, now we're gonna get in trouble for this podcast. But anyway, all that matters is that I had a man on my side, someone who defended his aunt, defended children, defended his girlfriend,
and got her killed.
He didn't get her killed.
She got her killed. He could have given her a simple phone call. He could have given her a simple phone call.
She made choices. He made choices. But at the end of the day, they both made choices in love. And if you're trying to find logic in those choices, that means you're trying to find logic in love, sir. And if you're trying to find logic in love, then you're going to have a hard time, bro. You're going to have a bad time because there is no logic in love.
He could have stopped her in any way of getting her. He didn't have to listen to her. He has superpowers and he has webbing. The second she said,
force a woman to do what you want.
It's not forcing her.
That's exactly
saving
what
her,
you're saying.
Protecting her.
No, in his
protecting
eyes.
her.
In his eyes. And
he could have done a better job protecting her. And then all she had to say is, I made my own choices. I'm a grown woman.
That's exactly what she said.
And then he said, Okay, you know what? Then I guess I can let you stay here with the two villains that are trying to kill me.
One villain because they already knocked out Electro
No,
with
they no.
teamwork.
She only ran him over with the car. They had to wait to blow him up. Apparently,
They
remember? Yeah.
teamwork blows them up. But I'm saying without her, they don't take care of Electro. They would have still
Oh
had
well,
two people.
but
Two
okay, so he
people.
would have failed. That's fine.
No,
At least she didn't
no.
have to die.
Sacrifices get made. You talked all
You don't-
about Harry Osborn dying. in
Okay,
your
but
film.
Harry Osborn gave hit like legit jumped in front of the blade for Spider-Man. Gwen Stacy didn't have to do this. She
She
could have
didn't.
stayed behind.
But she knew the risks.
So she just said, you know what? I'm gonna blow away a scholarship to Oxford.
She didn't say all of that because you don't think all of that. You think I need to save these innocent people.
She could have just let him
That's all
do
she
it
was
by
thinking.
himself.
I need to save these innocent people.
She don't have superpowers. What is she gonna do?
That's a good question, but you know what was coming through her head? I need to save these innocent people.
Oh,
Something
my
that never
God.
goes through Mary Jane's head, never goes through your Peter Parker's head, definitely never goes through your Spider-Man's head.
Listen, Spider-Man has saved innocent people in these trilogy movies.
But in your film, who does he save?
buildings full of little kids and patrons.
There's an exact scene of them blowing up like a side of a building and a bunch of debris falling, and him going to go chase after the ring. The debris still falls, seemingly killing everybody underneath. I don't know what Spider-Man
Well,
did
they
to help with
the
any of
cops
that
are
stuff.
down there. They definitely cleared out that area.
And that
Like,
fight scene that you're talking about
the
was
cops
when
are going to do their job. That crane scene.
that fight scene that you were talking about is when they are both unmasked going through the very heavily populated metropolis that is New York City, right? When two people who probably should be arrested for what they're doing right then and there are unmasked.
Yeah.
Well,
They
we have cameras for license
no,
plates.
Peter's
and then you're gonna
Peter's
tell me-
unmasked. So is Harry.
Yeah, they just
Throwing
just-
each other
just
through
doing
buildings,
It. Just do it.
breaking
No.
buildings.
Wrong. My Electro Spider-Man scene has Spider-Man doing a bullet time matrix. Oh, how do
I'm
I
so
say?
tired of these slow motion bullet time.
How else do you show
fight
how
scenes.
fast? How else do you show how fast people are? How else?
You could just show it.
Nah, that's terrible.
There's
That's
ways.
terrible.
There's
Time
ways
in a
to.
bottle works because in that scene X-Men because you have to show how fast he is.
There's ways to visually show someone's strength without having to always turn to speed. And because when you turn to speed, now you have to turn to slow motion, which an oxymoron and negates the whole fact of speed. I mean, I don't want to see zip 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 edited to hell. No, but I'm tired of seeing bullet time. Everything is slow motion. It's Zack Snyder porn at the end of the day.
You have to find a way to show what he was thinking in his head because it looks as if two people are going to touch rails that are about to be
But the
electrified.
whole movie was slow motion. The plane's going down. Scott Campbell turns to his wife. You see slow motion. Alexia Savage is blowing off guns fire at Peter Parker. He does a flip. You see slow motion.
Every single one of those Spider-Sense scenes in both our trilogies or whatever have slow motion.
I didn't know that Spider Sense can help you sense consciences. I didn't know guilty conscience was a Spider Sense. Like the man uses had a guilty conscience, and his Spider Sense says, "Hey, the ghost of your girlfriend's dad is right next to you."
No, that's not called.
Yeah,
That's not.
That was Spider Sense.
That had nothing to do with Spider-Sense. That's just guilt. That's just remorse. That's just
visually to me.
guilt.
All I heard was that anonymous violin string that shring. Like so, he was like, Spider Sense. In my head, I hear that violin string from all three Raimi's films, and you're like, all right, Spider Sense. All of a sudden,
yeah, but just
guilty
because
conscience.
your bad films have you having a Pavlovian response to that sound doesn't mean
this
that you have
man.
to. Doesn't mean that you have to negate what was actually happening when you saw that he was actually just feeling remorseful, and every time and people have said this all the time. If you dated 10 redheads and then you date another redhead and you go, oh, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm with you, I see your face. Are you actually seeing the entire woman there? Are you hallucinating? No, but you're making a statement. So they try to do a visual flair that is
All
being
I
ignored
saw
by
was
you.
Spider Sense.
It was
Spider
ignored
Sense
by you.
sensing guilty consciences.
The good Gwen Stacy in my film, actual police chief, not somebody who has price pigs that he takes around.
Yeah, but you
and
know
stuff
what?
like that.
My Captain Stacy doesn't die, so at least there's that.
Your Captain Stacy was about a bad coffee away from death. All right, I don't know. I thought he was actually hitting on Aunt May.
That is a decorated actor, sir, whose name is escaping me. James Howell, I think it was.
Cowell.
Yeah, James Cowell. I'm gonna have to look it up because I know he's from
He's the pig.
iRobot.
He's the big pig in the city guy.
Yes.
That's him.
Yes, he
Babe.
is the farmer from Babe.
That's all he'll ever be.
No, he's also the doctor from iRobot. Remember the hologram?
Who stopped? I guess he just stopped making pigs and started doing that. But all I'm saying is, my film is better, and that he has guilt. He has actual problems.
My film is easier to sit through. Your film was not easy
You know what
to
it
sit
is.
through.
You know, it's easy to do something wrong, right? And then program your own logic to twist it around and be like, no, what I'm doing is right. What I'm doing is right. Even when he was doing that, he still felt the residual guilt of promising a dead man something. I've never promised a man something and then had him die. Or I've never had to give somebody a death wish where before I die, I need you to promise me this forever. Never had to do it. But I would have to think that if God forbid you, Dan, God forbid something happened to you right now and you're like, don't ever eat chocolate. And then you died. And I'm like, I won't. And then someone's like, hey, yo, bro, you want some M&Ms? In that moment, I'm going to see you, bro. I'm going to see you at your hologram.
Oh, my God.
Telling me no, shaking his head, saying, no, you told me you would never eat chocolate again. That's what he's dealing with on the scale of the love of his life in my film. On the scale of the love of his life. That ground rule scene of them establishing ground rules so they could be friends is more romantic, is not only more romantic than anything in your film.
I will agree with that.
It is probably top five romance things to ever
I'll
deal
agree
with
with you on
comic
that because that's
media.
Mark Webb. That was Mark Webb at his finest. 500 Days of Spider-Man. You know, because that's what this movie really was. It was an hour and 45 minutes of 500 Days of Spider-Man, and then 20 minutes of Spider-Man.
Well, we've hit this point. So, how about now we both take a knee and get into problems with our own films? Would you like to start?
I'll let you get this one because you gave me the first round of good things about our films.
So I do think that my film is long. I do think that you can cut out whole parts.
About a good hour.
Whole parts of this film, and you can trim it down to everything
I think
that's action
I think it's longer than all the Star Wars, if I think about it. I think it's longer than all the Star Wars. Both of them, Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 individually, are longer than Empire Strikes Back and Clone Wars, and those are the longest Star Wars.
The runtime between our movies differs by like 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, that's
ridiculous. But once my movie started, I was like, whoa, this is too long. I completely forgot about that subplot with the spy stuff, but I did research, and if it's comic book accurate, I can't really.
Yeah, no, I guess if
really
it's
knock
comic book accurate, they're taking from good source material. So
because that would be me saying, I like this Superman movie, but all this stuff about a Krypton, what is this about?
Yeah, that's
you can't argue that. That's the part of the story.
yeah. But was the spy stuff with the parents? Was that continuity in was that canon in the comics?
Yeah, and
that's actual
with
canon.
The plane crash and everything. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
that's like not liking the death of Iron Man's parents.
Right. So you kind of just have to go with it. So.
I guess you know what? I'm gonna have to take that off my list because that was one of my biggest gripes. Was it?
Yeah, if you're making
the
up
shift
something
of
whole
tone, it was a whole different shift of tone. Like these are supposed to be like a nittier, grittier Spider-Man, but a lot of it was goofy. So it was like from one minute you got the death of his parents in a really brutal. Like this death was brutal. His mom was like shot in the throat, and then his dad just had to like watch everybody everybody die, and then you jump into that Spider-Man stuff. So it was a weird shift.
And then, I will, till the cows come home, I will harp about the bad chemistry I feel is between Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire. But in my film, the bad chemistry sits on the feet of Andrew Garfield and Dale DeHaan. I think that they have absolutely no chemistry. I think that they sucked at playing best friends.
I think I wrote that in here.
And all that kind of stuff.
I gotta see my notes.
I don't think that those two really... They did well, and they gave them a lot of long scenes together, and they all were very awkward. Like the first scene they have together, where they're not really talking after Norman's death. Then they have another scene where he's asking him about Spider-Man and stuff, and it's just weird. It just didn't. They didn't feel like friends. Maybe it was
I wrote in my
notes.
Second, how the hell did these two? How the hell did this version of Harry and Peter ever become friends? Because I don't imagine these two ever become. Besides, I know his father worked in Oscorp, but other than his father working in Oscorp, I can't ever see these two ever being friends.
Yeah,
I can't see it.
I can see that. That was my biggest, I think, thing. And then the occasional, these certain scenes felt like they were from other movies. Like when he puts up the whole map, and then nothing comes of it, and then he takes it down.
With your Z100 pop songs of getting the map on his wall tonight.
Listen, you want to talk about bad music
Give me
choices?
a second.
Do you want to talk about bad music?
I had one composer in my movie. You had 4 scoring your movie. including Pharrell writing the
I,
voice of Jamie Kennedy's little he stopped laughing.
I
Ha,
try
ha.
to go this whole show without mentioning it, but now you're gonna make me mention it. Your movie has Spider-Man dancing in it. It has Peter Parker in a black suit,
Oh man, that you
bumping and
can
grinding.
at this point it's derogatory at this point to bring
I,
that
I,
scene up.
it is what people point to as a bad Spider-Man film. People, when they think of Spider-Man
It's
3,
that it's that one
refuse to
film that
rewatch it
they
because
do.
of that. Because of that.
That one scene.
That shows you
It's
how
what
bad.
makes. How is it that one scene? But everybody is ignoring
Ask,
the entire.
ask BBS about one scene.
It is.
Ask BBS about what one scene in bad context can do, and they'll let you know. They'll tell you.
That's
They'll
that's a,
tell
that's
you.
a co- that's
That's
a,
just how
that's
that
a
works.
cast for another. That's a podcast
that's
for
just
another
how that
day.
works. It was a bad choice. It was a poor choice, and it set Spider-Man back to the point that you had to make him super cool like Miles.
How everybody
else-
didn't walk out the theaters from that retroviral hyperplasia subplot, like forcing
the same reason why
like-
people didn't walk out for McGregor syndrome or any of these other weird. I'm gonna put molten metal into my bones and come out with claws. Oh, none
At
of
least
this stuff
all
makes
these were more
sense.
practical. When I'm
Practical?
McGregor
There's
syndrome, I mean,
nothing
like,
practical
there's other practical things that you could have done. Just a virus that no one's ever that no one has ever heard of, that only you specifically get. That you
But could
pass
you
to
imagine
yourself.
if everyone heard? Oh yeah, the retroviral. Blah, 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 blah. Like that
At
doesn't
least
make
there'd be
any
ways
sense.
to fight it. This, you're just throwing in this whole CIA, sci-fi, and that's the problem with Richard Parker in this movie. Dick Parker, he knew what he was signing up for in the beginning, and then he gets a change of heart because a few spiders are dying.
What? No, because they were gonna sell. Oscorp was gonna sell all the materials to make weapons across overseas, and he ain't with that. Same thing that
Man,
Iron Man
then
did.
that's the bullcrap. Is how do you gonna go? How does this Oscorp InGen company go from experimenting on reptiles and insects to find a cure for Oscorp to going into weapon sales like Iron Man's company? Like, this is so.
I don't know.
everything was
Oscorp
just-
has always just been like all encompassing. They don't ever say even in your trilogy.
I thought they were just
do
a
like,
I thought they were just a research. What's it called? R&D.
Then
An R&D
Well, then
department.
they research for everything, right? They research for military. They research for scientists. They research for medical reasons. They research for everything.
Like, and
So
now there's a whole
so-
underground bunker of the Sinister Six just chilling in there.
just weapons.
Mr.
Underground,
Sinister.
underground bunker.
Goddamn, Mr. Sinister doesn't. You don't get to see his face in any of these movies.
Listen, they had weapons there to set up for the characters, iconic things that people would recognize so they can move forward. You can't blame them for trying to build a future. There's nothing wrong with trying to
The
build a future.
Doc Ock claws were way too small. Either it was because
Your
it was
Doc
far
Ock is
away.
dead.
Okay, that Doc Ock, that was messed up,
Your
man.
Doc Ock's dead, so you
That's
can't even
another,
do a
that,
Sinister
that was
Six
another.
movie.
That's another gripe for another day. I hate Change of Hearts, and I hate sympathetic villains. I hate that he killed himself, brilliant
That's
but
just
lazy
what
and all that
happens.
crap. Why do they write this stuff in?
But yeah, that dance thing is atrocious, and it needs to be burned in a
If
fire.
we're on the subject of now, I have to talk crap about my movie. Yeah, bro, that dance just. Oh my God, who
Pretty
does?
bad.
He's just shaking his hips and pointing to girls like, "Hey, what's up? I'm a nerd, and this is how cool looks." But that's what happens when you're a dork and you have now symbiote crap on you. You throw all inhibitions to the wind. You don't know what it's like to be the Fonz. So you're literally the Fonz going, "Hey."
But
So
the Fonz-
there's ways to defend that scene.
There's got to be someone in the 90s, right? The 80s. Why is he going all the way to the Fonz? He needs to. Can he get a little bit closer?
Because he's
Even if he was doing Michael Jackson shit, we
he's
would have let
Tobey
it fly.
Maguire.
We would have let the Michael Jackson stuff fly. You know, if he was doing Michael Jackson.
Well,
He's doing, like, what is
it's
he
not
doing
like
there?
he was
Boogie
going
Nights?
straight Saturday Night Fever,
He
know?
was basically going straight. He was snapping his fingers at people in the crowd and pointing. He was doing finger guns.
Because he thinks that's what cool is.
He was-
Narratively, it
he
makes
was getting
sense.
sexually uncomfortable.
Visually, we don't like it.
to Betty
Visually, it's
Brant.
horrible, but narratively, it makes sense for his character.
And narratively, it makes sense for him to hit Mary Jane.
More symbiote, more penting rage and aggression.
Why is your movie so spiteful? To the point that I call it Spite-Terman 3. Because at every point, somebody's trying to get revenge on somebody else, and they don't care at what legs they're
By
going to
this
do it.
time, everybody is just being so two-faced and
Because that's what I want from my superhero movie. Thanks, Mr.
Name 5 recent superhero movies that don't have some sort of revenge or spiteful fuck.
That's
Civil
different.
War.
That's different. They're all gonna have revenge plots. I get that, but you have the protagonist has his girlfriend have revenge plots.
she was being forced because you can even see the amazing acting that was on that bridge that
Oh
she
my
didn't even
God.
she didn't even want. Listen, no, you're gonna listen
That
here on
omelet
this
scene,
one.
that omelet scene had nothing to do with revenge.
No, forget the omelet scene. The
Or
omelet
had nothing
scene
to do with
the,
being coerced.
the
I'm
omelet
sorry.
scene was not. She wasn't being coerced. It was just that at that point, building up into it, she felt alone, and Peter wasn't giving her what she wanted.
He's the smallest violin. Oh, MJ.
But
Who
now when we
pays
get
no
to
rent.
the bridge scene,
MJ who can't keep a job.
where is she
MJ
living?
who is emotionally scarred.
I don't think I've ever seen her. Does she live with Peter?
Peter doesn't have to answer to the crimes of her father, the crimes of her ex-boyfriends. Peter doesn't have to answer for the crimes of her not paying
Your
attention
Peter
in
doesn't have to
school.
answer the crimes of Gwen's father or the crimes of Gwen.
He has to answer for
Morally,
his own,
okay.
He has to answer for
But who
Gwen's involvement in his own life. He has to answer for that because he is part of that. He's legit the other half of that. He has to answer for that. But Peter does not have to answer for MJ's past. He doesn't because he's no part of that. He never was. But because she's insecure, because she's scared, and because she doesn't know what the next step is going to be, she gives him crap at every step, at every turn. He almost died.
Is
for
he
that
supporting
ring.
her at all? Is he showing any support towards her though? He doesn't show any support towards her.
I would assume being front row at her performance would be supporting her.
Okay, showing up to one play front row doesn't.
He knew the song by heart. He knew the song by heart.
Okay,
which means that he probably practiced with her.
Yeah, but you know what? He knew the song by heart before they were even in a relationship in the second one, and that's pretty creepy. How do you know her song by heart but have never been to her play?
He was probably
that's a can of worms.
To some other things. But this man tried to do a romantic wedding, ceremony, or at least a proposal, and all gets thrown out the window because she can't stop talking about or thinking about herself. She's the worst love interest in a comic book movie.
I will say, I will agree. No, I will agree. She kind of is. Though she chews up no scenery.
And it's just,
she has
maybe
no
it's just
acting
bad
chops.
Writing. It's like Skylar in the first season of Breaking Bad. Eventually, she becomes a three-dimensional character, but in the beginning, she's only there to annoy us and to stop Walt from doing cool things.
Okay.
And
now you were really reaching because Skylar never became no damn three-dimensional. She by the end of the show, she was still nothing but an annoying Lady Macbeth.
Nah, she was definitely. We can't spoil Breaking Bad on this, but you're supposed to give your characters chances to grow.
No, the writing for Kirsten Dunst was terrible. Terrible. All three movies, terrible.
And every one of those films, she's with somebody else, not Peter.
I'm sorry, but her crying face is really cringy to look at.
Her face is kind of weird.
She had.
Her I'm mad face is just terrible. It's just like
that sour puss type.
I smell something bad going on.
No, but her crying face is just. She has like these puffy cheeks, like she got stung by a bee, and she has that like face, like, why are you doing this? Like,
Harry,
you're breaking my heart.
Harry's I'm not all there face is terrible.
Okay, yeah, but you know what? James Franco never opens his eyes, anyways. So the day James Franco opens his eyes fully will be the goddamn day.
He looks stoned for half the movie.
Because James Franco was probably stoned for half the movie. You never know.
That's ridiculous. Oh, that's ridiculous.
You know, at least it was better
Electro's
than...
not that bad in my film. You need to go back and check out Electro.
You said what? Electro is horrible.
Nah, he's not that
Electro
bad.
is horrible.
I'm telling you, he's not that
horrible.
bad. I'm telling you, he's not that bad.
Because I envision a world in darkness.
That whole scene you can cut. You can cut that whole scene. Cut that weird doctor.
And then what else do you have?
Cut the weird doctor.
Once you cut the weird doctor scenes and all, you get the him and Harry. That was crap.
No, that's fine. It's literally the same thing that happens in your movie with you want to go help me catch the spider. It's literally the same thing.
Oh my God! Because he just in the city of New York, he just so happened to be swinging in the same alley as Sandman.
That's it.
The coincidence.
That's just what happens. That's just what happens in those films.
You want to kill the spider. I want to kill the spider.
All
All I know is I don't believe Topher Grace is a bad guy.
He says my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I mean, it's like everyone knows what you mean. Shut up.
God, I can't. I can't
Grace.
stand Topher Grace's. I can't even. I can't believe that Topher Grace is a villain.
Character's fine. Like I said again, character's fine. You can use that anywhere, and everyone should be able to hear you. But the character. Oh, we might have some technical difficulties. Go ahead.
No, I think I hear. No, I hear me. All right, guys. As long as you're, because that would have been.
No, but yeah, your Harry was hard to buy. No. I liked my Harry. I didn't like my Harry with Peter, but I did like my Harry.
I liked him as Green Goblin if they would have kept him as like a main Green Goblin. Like you take out, I'm telling you, you take out Electro, you leave Rhino in there, and you leave Green Goblin in there, and I would have enjoyed. The reason why is because the same reason that I give a pass for Sandman is. The lead actors of Sideways are always going to be wins for me. You know, Paul Giamatti was saying himself he didn't care how the movie did at the box office. He didn't care any of if it fails or not. He just knew he was having fun doing his thing.
But
And
my
if you were
thing
having
is,
fun doing your thing, then I'll give you a pass, Giamatti.
I argue if you split my movie in half, you would have a great Green Goblin movie with Gwen Stacy and a great spy movie.
You know what the thing is? Your movie, it wasn't long in the running time. I would have been. I keep the running time. Here's the thing: don't throw all of your romance in the first hour and a half, and then throw all of your action in the last. Chop it up. Put
That's
some
what I'm saying.
romance
You might as
here.
well
Put
split
some
it.
romance there.
You might as well go like
if you know how to-
Parker Spy Parents.
Okay, no,
and
cut out the Parker
I'm
Spy
saying,
Parents stuff.
You
Definitely.
might as well go Parker Spy Parents and Electro. Matter of fact, Parker Spy Parents and Green Goblin, because you can do the whole parent parable there as one movie, and then you do Electro and the Death of Gwen Stacy as its own movie. You can even have Green Goblin just do that
but
cameo or whatever.
I
And you
don't
can
want
have two separate
Electro
movies.
killing Gwen Stacy
No.
when
You still have Green Goblin do it, just the Electro plot.
oh.
That plot. Once they stop Electro, it seems like the movie's over, and then whoops, Green Goblin's returned, does the same scene where Peter, he looks at her, grabs her, you get everything else. But that whole blood, the meeting after Norman's death, them hanging out by Dumbo, all that, it needs its own movie. You put all that somewhere else.
I need better. I need the better actors that have chemistries. Like they had
Yeah,
Dean
right.
DeHaan. I feel bad for him because he tries.
But that
But-
that chemistry won't make or break the film like the MJ stuff.
That chemistry
You know?
is
So it's
horrible.
like-
that chemistry is horrible.
You gotta, I don't know why. And then you like you were saying, you were already talking about all the weird behind the scenes stories of like unhappy actors and money issues.
Yeah, you can.
and-
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes. There was a lot of scenes that I was noticing that like there was like legit blandness. Come to read, like they were all like trying to X out of their contract. Like Kirsten Dunst wanted out, Tobey Maguire wanted out, Sam Raimi wanted out. Like this was terrible. Nobody was having fun at all.
And speaking about not having fun at all, I look back at my Electro scene where it's this
Still can't have fun at
black
that.
man in a hoodie in Times Square, confused, asking for help, and gets shot down.
Excuse me,
I
but
think-
if
I
someone blew, he wasn't. Whoa, no. Now once again reaching. He came in with a hoodie, yes, but he wasn't a black man. He was a blue man.
But he
Let's
was-
get this straight.
he
He was a
identified
black
as
man
a black
internally, but
He
everybody is
identified-
looking at him and they're thinking, "Oh my God, Dr. Manhattan." The one Dr. Manhattan had better
Obviously-
CGI.
well, obviously they weren't, because a lot of people. The cops were just like, "Hey, get away from that thing."
Because he opened up a grate
but
on the
if-
floor and
but
put
if-
his hands in
It's not
electrical
like
currents.
It's not like they see regularly blue people. If they would have thought he was straight up blue, they would have told him something about it. They were like, "Why is that guy blue?" And you know,
Well, you know,
They're trying to talk to
I guess in the Spider-Man universe, they're so
Not even-
Times Square. So
as a
New
matter
York-
of fact, not even in the Spider-Man universe, in New York City, we see.
I guess
blue
we're so
people.
used to seeing blue people all
You
the
see blue
time.
people or people,
But
spray
he
painted as
literally was
robots.
holding on to these like electrical sockets in his hands, sucking up the electricity. Of course, the cop is gonna start, having his gun at him to shoot him.
But he
The
didn't know
guy
what he
looks
was
like a
doing.
villain.
He didn't know what he was doing.
But he looks like a monster.
And he did ask for help. And Spider-Man has a beautiful hostage scene with him where he's trying to talk him down from the pure
Okay.
anger and all that stuff. All that stuff worked because Spider-Man will talk to you
And
first instead
then
of jumping
he was
in there.
lying. They shoot at
And
you.
then he
Ha
lied.
ha ha.
Well,
ha.
that
He
came,
didn't lie.
That
He
came
didn't.
after.
That wasn't Spider-Man's fault. That wasn't.
But it happened.
That was the
He
cops.
said no one's going to shoot at you. And so once somebody shoots at him, that it then constitutes a lie. He lied to him. That's how that works. He said, "Don't worry." Matt.
lied to me. With that
And
weird
they-
ass
Electro.
Oh my God.
Well, if your vocal cords are fried due to electricity, I'm pretty sure they're gonna sound kind of weird.
You know what? I would have taken Electro in a green and yellow suit over this Electro.
Electro was fine. Electro was fine.
Elec-
I also liked how dangerous. they made
Electro was in the movie
electricity.
for like 5 minutes, chopped up into 3 scenes.
He has tons of great scenes. He kills a man and brings him back to
I don't
life.
know about. No, see, you're using great like I use great, very, very, very like loosely.
No,
That's-
listen.
yeah,
No,
that's-
he
that's
has
a loose
He
great.
has legit good scenes. He kills a man and brings him back to life with electricity. That was awesome. That was good.
Oh, he did stop that. He did like do like a defibrillator thing and stop his heart, right? Because I thought that was weird. 1 minute I
just
see him
shot- he just
shoot
shot
at
him. He
He
just
shot
shot-
at his chest, and then next
Yeah.
thing I know, they're walking downstairs.
No,
Like,
he
this is
shot
like
at
a
him
little
and then
defibrillator
then he
thing.
leaned over him and brought him back. Because that's what that was lit. And he goes into wall outlets. How scary is that? It's awesome. But like we got
Also,
jump
I guess he
scares.
survived
We got
this
jump
movie.
scares with Venom. Jump scares. The guy's supposed to be like 300 pounds. Well, you're supposed to hear him drooling from 10 miles away, and we got jump scares? Come on, get out of here with that.
You know, there was a reason behind that one jump scare. That's because Parker can't use his spider sense against Venom in the comics.
Sure.
So that's source material. So of
Sure.
course there's gonna be a
We'll
jump scare.
take that, but
That
not
only
the
makes
organic
sense.
Webs. We'll just add our own organic webs to that.
Okay, I can't defend organic webs, but once again, that is beneath you, and you know it.
You can't go halfway, is what I'm saying. You can't go, well, we're going to go comic books this way, but we're not going to go comic books this way. My movie went full comic book. If
Your
it
movie did
failed
not
because
go
it did,
full comic
if
book.
it failed because
Parker
it did,
was not that stupid. This Parker did not have
What are
no
you talking about,
scientific
stupid?
aspirations
Yes,
at
he-
all.
Yeah, of course he did.
At least in the first one, they gave him actual scientific aspirations. In the first one, he was like running circles around Dr. Connors. In Spider-Man 2, he was running circles around Dr. Octopus. That is
But
great.
why do you
In this
why
movie, he
do-
was watching Bill Nye the Science Guy.
But what's the overall benefit to science and all that stuff? Is to better mankind, right? Like you have an interest in this stuff because you want to
but the way,
invent,
but I'm
and
saying
you want to
the
engineer.
the bookworm Parker from Amazing Spider-Man 1 was not the same Parker in Amazing Spider-Man 2. This Peter was so much more cocky. That stupid distraction scene. Oh no! Spill coffee this way. Trip guy this way.
That
this
was
way.
great. That was prime.
dumb.
That was
That was
prime
so
Parker, and
dumb.
you know it.
So
Had
dumb.
Toby done it, you would have been
Womp
saying it
womp.
was great.
No, if Toby would have
That
done it,
was-
I would have been over here telling you that there's no
was-
reason a 40-year-old man should be causing a distraction like that. Just like I didn't like in Spider-Man 2 where he was coming out the broomstick closet and all the brooms were falling off. Oh no, Parker's gonna miss it by 5 minutes and then he's gonna get fired. Womp womp.
But that's literally the level of comedy in your film. What's funny in your film?
You know what? Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. I'll
is.
give you that point.
Spider-Man 3 is no laughing matter, especially if you sat through it. God help your soul. There's nothing funny or fun about Spider-Man 3. So don't harpoon mine for trying. At least it tries to get there. Tries to get to second base.
Okay,
It's a little
do
bit
or
rough.
do not. There is no try.
No, there
It
is-
still failed at the end of the day. It still is a failure.
But it
A
tried.
failure is a failure. Whether it tried or not, it still failed. I'd rather
Yours
a film
didn't.
that don't do nothing and fail than a film that tries and fails.
Yours didn't. It was a cash grab because they didn't really care about how all this ended. That's why Sandman was just allowed to just leave, just walk away. They probably I wouldn't be surprised they were writing the script as they were filming it, and they're like, and then
No, I
Sandman
heard
does.
there was. It was like, you know how Justice League's was like they shot all of Snyder's and then they like went back and did it with Whedon, I think it was. They
They're like-
basically did that for Spider-Man 3. Like they had it and then they had to go back and do reshoots for a lot of scenes. That's why they added in like the whole Sandman angle for Uncle Ben.
They're like, how are we going to end the Sandman arc? They're like, well, he's huge, right? So we'll just have him be huge and crushing, and they'll keep fighting between him and Spider-Man, and then he'll see his daughter
That was
at a
brutal.
window.
That
Just-
was brutal.
But then he sees his daughter through a window, and he creates his whole sand army of soldiers, and they could attack Spider-Man, but he could take out each one of them until when he kicks one of them, it almost resembles his daughter, and he apologizes, and he goes down. Oh, no, we ran out of money for that. I guess we could just have him fly away just into dust. I guess we could do that. Yeah, write it down. We'll shoot it. And that was yours. That's what happens with Sandman in your film. It was sad. It wasn't funny. There was nothing funny about your film. The funniest part about your film would have been the dancing thing. That whole
And that was hilarious.
it was hilarious for how bad it was. It was
Okay,
hilarious.
but it was still funny.
That's bad credit card bad.
Okay, that
It's
listen.
true. Was that scene funny?
Oh my
Is that funny?
God. Oh,
Is
bad
bat nipples
credit
funny?
card.
Because if that's funny, then oh my god, I got some comedy shows to take.
Man, they just legit just took a knife at my childhood. Back credit card. How do you even open up a bank account? What do you own your own bank? Who's working
Well,
there?
that's what happened.
Somebody knows you. Can of worms.
Yep, that's a
Can't-
whole other kind of worm. But I feel
can
the
of
same way
worms.
when one of my favorite heroes of all times is caught strutting down the street, pelvic thrusting, with emo hair, and as you pointed out, eyeliner.
Oh my God, the eyeliner. Oh Lord, have mercy.
Symbiosis gives you lit shadow.
See, no, that's what the symbiote was. The symbiote was the eyeliner. That's what it was.
Around his eye.
Yeah, the symbiotes were around his eyes, the eyeliner.
Sure. I wish the symbiote was around my eyes watching this film so that I would have to see any of it. Because you opened up a can of worms making me rewatch these films. And I'm not going to lie to you, I actually got a much stronger, much more of an intense love for Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I will never watch any of these two movies again for the day I die.
No, you will watch Amazing Spider-Man 2 again.
You know,
Watch.
maybe I'll watch Amazing Spider-Man if you find a way to do the power of editing and chop up some scenes and put some this way and put some that way, and
I'm
like,
making it into an episodic series. How about that? I'm the Amazing
I
Spider-Man
already
show.
watched it as a series. I watched 20 minutes a day for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's how I ended up watching Amazing Spider. I had to watch it 20 minutes a day.
I'm telling you that Gwen Stacy stuff lights the screen up.
No,
It-
if there's
it-
if
it
the,
makes
if
your
there
brain-
is if there is one, like I told you, there's 2 moments of this movie that had me actually whimsical and in smiles to my ears, and that's one, the beginning with Spider-Man, where he's actually as Spider-Man facing off against Paul Giamatti. The way he was like, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man. Call me Mr. Spider Guy. Amazing. Just don't call me for dinner." Has feet dangling off. That had me ear to ear. And then when Parker and Gwen Stacy were together, walking down, giving yourselves ground rules to be friends, like, you can't press your nose like that, or you can't look at me with those doe eyes. That was Mark Webb, 500 Days of Summer at his finest. Those are my only 2 moments. That's it. Those are my only 2 moments.
But those 2 moments are great.
At least those are 2 more moments than I can find in Spider-Man 3. It ain't no easy task defending that movie.
I just, man, you know what it is about Spider-Man 3 that why I'm having such a problem liking it, especially now, is that it seems to take from just a different generation of those movies, of comic book movies in general.
Yeah, it's like
It's like the
it's like a
last-
product of its time, but not in that time.
Right? It's like the last of that years, probably when it shouldn't have been.
I think it's
there.
Does that count next to Ghost Rider? Would that count as like in the
Well, you
range
start-
of last campy comic book movies? Because that's all the original trilogy, Sam Raimi's trilogies were. At the end of the day, those were campy movies.
Yeah.
Even
A
if
lot of those-
even if
a
they
lot of
looked dark, like this movie wasn't dark.
And
This movie wasn't.
and a lot of the musical cues are kind of like.
Remember that this was all Danny Elfman's music sheet that Christopher Young was just making music for off of. So that's why there was a lot of Batman Forever, Batman and Robin type score. Like, God, I love Danny Elfman though. I do.
Well, here's hoping that some of these guys get brought back, like Electro,
You know what?
Garfield. Maybe they hire Garfield.
I would for the new Tom Holland films. I would like to see, because I heard Mysterio is going to be in this.
Yeah.
I would like to see that. I would like to see Scorpion, to be honest with you.
Well, Scorpion was teased in Homecoming. He was in
Yeah.
the film.
His name was teased. I love Bokeem Woodbine as an actor.
Yeah.
Me personally, I've seen Fargo season 2. He was in Devil as the security guard that was claustrophobic.
Oh yeah.
So I personally like Bokeem Woodbine. Fargo season 2 is what sold on me, but I wanted him to have the Shocker mask. I like the gauntlets.
Yeah.
I love the gauntlets. The way it's just like it
They're
has his
actually
hands
the
and then it goes
gauntlets from,
over his hands.
They're actually the gauntlets from Civil War.
Are they Crossbones gauntlets?
Yeah, they're Crossbones gauntlets.
That's why I like the Tinkerer.
Yeah.
I thought
But
the
that's what I'm
Tinkerer was
saying,
done great.
both
But
our
I want to
movies-
see more newer villains,
Both
older
our movies
villains.
were trying to do something with Spider-Man in a world that wasn't set up for him. Like they had to build everything from scratch.
Because once
whereas-
again, it's you know what, I can't blame guys like Sam Raimi and Mark Webb, because at the end of the day they are just the director. Their job is to just help the actor be more this, or they don't really have too much creative control. And even if they have creative control, Sony still has most of it. Avi Arad is still doing most of the Kevin Feige-ing. He thinks he's like the first Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Remember that your movie suffers from one major thing, and that's Alex Kurtzman is the writer of your script. If you guys don't know who that is, that's the same writer of the first 3 Transformers and Star Trek Into Darkness.
The first Transformer was fine.
First Transformers is a masterpiece, but Dark Side of the Moon and I don't even remember the third one.
I couldn't name the rest of them.
Yeah, I can't even name the rest of them either. Revenge of the Fallen. There's the third one. Revenge of the Snoring. But
That's terrible.
But if we could agree on one thing today, we can agree on this. At least the Spider-Man 3 video game was better than the movie.
Yes.
That video game was
You
great.
know what else was there? I liked the Spider-Man 3 posters.
Yeah, but they're all
The posters were kind of cool.
But to me, they weren't better than how like visually creative the first 2 posters were. Look at Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not Amazing. Look at Spider-Man 2's poster. The way you see Parker holding in his costume, holding Mary Jane, and in Spider-Man's eye, you see Doc Ock.
Uh-huh.
I like the creativity behind that kind of poster. Spider-Man 3, it was just real. All it really had was what the 3 looked really cool. Comic Sans 3. Like
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
really dig the. I thought by Spider-Man 3 their posters were either not trying or just trying too hard. Like there was no balance there. Spider-Man 2's poster is still great, and I did like the posters for Amazing Spider-Man 2. And another thing I will say, the costume was phenomenal. I like the costume in Amazing Spider-Man 2 even more than Homecoming's costume. And I love the emoting eyes in Homecoming's costume. But Amazing Spider-Man 2's costume was just, everything about that costume was perfect, from the Todd McFarlane size eyes to just the way the spider was across his chest.
Is 3 the first time? I felt like those lines were like whiter, like silver almost. Were they always silver
Yeah.
on the suit?
They were always
silver.
They were always silver since the
Okay.
beginning.
Maybe
they were
because
always
they had
silver.
like dark scenes. I remember them being pronounced, like sticking up. I don't remember.
No, they were they were sticking out, but I remember the suit specifically from 2 was really, with the lines were really gray. Like if you think back when Harry pulls the mask off of him.
There's a lot of mask pulling offs going on.
Hey, let's not get started on worst secret identity ever with Andrew Garfield always having his mask off at the right moment. I swear the first one had him in the costume without the mask on more than him any type else.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the first Amazing Spider-Man, he had his mask off a lot. Too much for me to be comfortable
he
with.
basically got caught with his pants down with it off. But they all do that because Tom Holland got caught with it off at the end of his film.
That is so cheap.
That's a thing.
That's so cheap.
People just get caught they just keep getting caught with their mask off. And it doesn't matter how much mask yours has on.
The worst offense, I know this has nothing to do with Spider-Man, but the worst offense is still to this day Nolan's Batman's. Oh, look.
Wait, taking off his helmet?
No, knowing this, finding out that he's Batman. The way Katie Holmes finds out he's Batman because he decides to say a quote that only she told Bruce.
That's why
I hated that.
To tell you the truth, that's why I thought the unspoken nature of how they show Harry putting it together was kind of cool. How he lands there between them.
That actually,
looks at both of them.
I specifically remember in theaters. I've only watched Amazing Spider-Man 2 times. One time in theaters, and then now for this podcast. But I will never forget when I was in theaters, just being so bored, all the way up until the very, very end when I heard that Green Goblin accurate laugh. I looked around like, did I just get transported into another realm of a different movie? That laugh was amazing. And then Dean DeHaan just comes out down, and they made him look like a goblin without having to go comic goblin-y. Like his hair was like all like falling out but spiked up at the same time.
Yeah,
his face was like
Vegeta,
green.
Yeah, like a Vegeta dude going on.
Yeah, he had like the green I would say like lesions all over his face, like how Connors did at the end of Amazing Spider-Man. Green Goblin
really
looked
teeth.
great. I just didn't like his transformation because it was too close up. Even if you're gonna chop it up and edit it crazy, it was way too close up. All you see is just like his face, and then it chops. Then you see his back, then it chops. You see, oh god, the way his back was like morphing was like making me like uncomfortable.
And I mean, it was kind of crazy that he was so hell bent on putting this weird animal blood inside of his body. But I've never been on death's door, so I mean,
no, I guess
times
death
call for
would make you
different
do
measures.
crazy things. But the way he did piece together,
Felicity
that
Jones is in my movie.
Oh God, she was as Catwoman.
No, Black Cat.
Black Cat. Sorry, she was Black Cat, and then she was somebody. Then she was an air traffic controller.
She was Felicia Hardy.
Such a horrible Felicia Hardy. You had Felicia Hardy in this. You had Alistair Smythe, Mr. Sinister. I could have sworn I heard a Morbius reference. I swear I heard a Morbius reference in this movie. You
Morbius.
Yeah, I swear I heard something
the first
towards
thing
Morbius.
I thought about was Matrix, not the vampire.
No, not Morbius.
I was like, wait, there was not.
You had the worst character in The Office play one of the coolest number 2s to the Kingpin.
The fact that you would say Ryan is one of the worst characters in The Office.
Ryan is one of the
No.
worst characters.
Negative.
If this was the Me Too movement and The Office came out, Ryan's character would have been fired a long time ago for being just the biggest misogynist in that entire office building.
You're allowed to be a misogynistic character as long as you're not shown as being right. If
Why
you're
do
wrong-
I
even if
have
you're
to
wrong-
stay here on my birthday, sir? Because you're special. Get the hell out of here.
He was being a jerk. He was being
Oh,
that kind of
God.
jerky boss that people don't like.
Oh,
The same way
Lord
that Jay
have
Jonah
mercy.
was. And like I said,
Your
that
film
whole
doesn't
Jay
even
Jonah-
have Jay Jonah. Your film has emails.
He's in there via email. He makes an email
He has
cameo.
He has email. He said one word wrong. That's it. That's it.
He had an email cameo. And your Jay Jonah is legitimately one gag.
Whoa,
He's a
whoa.
gag.
Hold on.
It's a gag.
Hold on.
Is
Even
it not
you
a gag?
can't say that. Listen, J.K. Simmons was one of the most
Great.
perfect castings for
So
J.
why
Jonah
they
Jameson.
so why did they put him on this Saturday Night Live sketch of man who's easily irritated has a really loud buzzer for a intercom? Why did they create that gag for him?
It's called Jumping the Shark.
Oh well, they jumped that whole. It's hip. It's now. It's wow. All that garbage.
That scene was garbage, but oh god,
No, it was garbage.
Oh
It was
my
garbage.
God.
But
I can't.
It's
No,
just
that's just
garbage.
garbage. Daily Bugle. That's the name of our company. It's hip. It's now. I
Terrible.
came up with that. It's wow. That was Kurt's down in PR. Gave him a bunch of coffee and. Yo,
What's
you are not James Gunn. You are not Sean Gunn. You cannot. I hate the fact that Sam Raimi's brother was in all three of these movies as like as Jameson's like assistant type
PR,
punching
like
bag.
kinda PR kind
Yeah, he was
of
like
guy.
a PR punching bag. He was legit, but it was the Sean Gunn James Gunn thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you can put your brother in a movie and it works. Sometimes you can't put your brother in a movie and it work.
Yeah.
Sean Gunn works in The Guardians as Kraglin. Sean Gunn works in any James Gunn film as just a relief.
Yeah.
Him and Michael Rooker are in all James Gunn movies as comedic reliefs,
Right.
and they work. This
But you
guy,
can't- yeah.
I don't even remember Sam Raimi's brother's name. Sam Raimi's brother. That's it. That's his name.
Jam Raimi. That's what I'm going with.
Like, you remember Fred Claus? He should have been in the scene where all the famous actors' brothers are in.
Oh yeah, all the famous directors' brothers.
Where they had like
Maybe
a.
they should make that kind of movie, maybe like The Expendables, but just with directors' brothers.
Oh my God!
Dude,
Sean
and
Gunn
it's-
will still be the best actor in
And
that
it's
movie.
Directed by the directors. I dig that. But it seems that we're ready to put down our swords today, at least for now. What are you looking forward to in Spider-Man: Far From Home? Do you think that you have any kind of like wild speculations? We literally do wild speculations on this show, all willy-nilly, so that if they come true, we can say that we said them first here, and if they don't, we can act like we never said them at all. And so we usually do that here. Do you have any wild speculations?
Well, it's coming out after Avengers 4.
Yeah.
Then they're probably gonna do what they did with Civil War, and have little scenes and Easter eggs where he's watching the Civil War fight from Sokovia or whatever.
Okay.
Like I think they're gonna do that where he's just gonna be like feeling
So
around.
you're telling me that Far From Home is going to be really connected to? It's going to come like almost immediately after the events of Avengers.
Yeah,
4?
just like how Homecoming was literally after the events of Civil War. I think there's going to be some of the events. They're probably going to go with if they don't go with the Aunt May thing where Aunt May knows he's Spider-Man, then it's just going to be a waste of an ending. The way they did it.
That's
But
gonna have to set up.
what I hope they don't do is I hope they don't go like the Ned scene made sense in Homecoming where he's like, "Do you climb up walls? Did you steal Captain America's shield? Did you do this? Do you do that?"
Oh, you don't want
That
to see
scene.
that with
No,
with
I don't want to see it with Aunt May.
Aunt May?
I don't want to see that. Do you do this? Do you do that? And if you're gonna do it, I want a dinner scene in their house. I don't want a dinner scene in the restaurant where she's whispering and looking around to see if anybody's gonna ask her, notice. I don't want any of that. It's gonna be too long and it's gonna take away from the movie. I want more Mysterio. I want more villains. I feel a Homecoming didn't share enough time for Michael Keaton. Like I
as
get,
Vulture.
yeah, like even as well. I want even as Adrian Toomes, just in general. Like I felt like I didn't get enough villain scenes. And it's not. I'm not.
I would argue that we didn't get really enough Spider-Man scenes in general but by the end he's wearing
But
that
you know what?
other outfit.
But you know what the
and
thing
stuff.
was? We had the Spider-Man scenes that we did have. I feel was enough eye candy to service not having enough.
Okay.
Like the whole scene where he was like chasing after
The truck.
Hakeem Woodbine,
Yeah.
and Friday or whatever was like we have 100 different
Kill modes,
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
And
yeah.
he's like, no, don't do this, don't do that, and he's trying to swing through him running through the suburbs
Yeah.
where there are no tall buildings.
And I guess that's
That
what
stuff
I
is
guess that's
cool.
what I liked about Amazing Spider-Man 2. The cocky nature of that Spider-Man is we've almost never
No,
seen
I'll
a
agree with a
Spider-Man
cocky
who's
Spider-Man. It's just I don't want a cocky Peter Parker.
But I'm saying like we've almost never seen a Spider-Man who's already or who's set in his powers. He's always doesn't know what's going on, or it could always go wrong. Like I want him to start being smarter and start being having more confidence in his abilities as Spider-Man, and hopefully Tom Holland is there for that.
No, that's that scene where he where he was just talking to his the voice whatever Friday. I'm gonna keep calling it Friday.
Yeah.
When he was just talking to Friday, and then he asks what time it is, and she's like, "You've only been in here for like 45 minutes."
Yeah.
That stuff is funny. It's
Definitely.
cute. It's I don't want to say childlike
But
humor.
I guess maybe I'm just getting older than Tom Holland.
Yeah,
So
but
it's
you know
also
what? It's
making
like
it-
this is the first because this is the first time that they're not rushing Spider-Man. Think of it: Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 both rushed the age of Peter.
Yeah, and both of those Spider-Men were older than me. This is his first Spider-Man that's younger than me. So it's
Yeah, same for me. Hey, he's younger than me too.
So
You
it's
know,
like, oh, whoa, what's
this
going
kid
on
hasn't
here?
seen. Tom Holland actually hasn't seen Empire Strikes Back when he made that. Hey, you ever seen that really old Star Wars movie? He hasn't
Wow.
actually seen Aliens when he made. So anytime he says, "Have you seen that really old movie?" Those are ad-libbed lines.
There's a sign. There's a thing with his like passport or something like that they show, and it's like he's born I think like in 2000
Yeah,
or something, or 2003 or something like that.
I gotta look
It's
up.
like,
I'm looking up his age.
ah,
I'm gonna look
man.
up Tom Holland's
Nothing
age.
wrong. Nothing wrong. I hope we have a bunch of
No, because
2000s babies
because
listening to this.
Spider-Man comic-wise was a 16-year-old. He was the first teenage superhero to not be a sidekick. So that is iconic. And now they're really born in 96. June 1st, 1996. That makes him 22. Boy.
No, he was born. Yeah, but they have like a fake Peter Parker.
Oh.
Like ID or passport, and it says like 2003 or something like that. I'm like, man, that kid is young. I want.
I hear it right. I think I see it right. No, that's. Let me see. No, these are the old Raimi ones.
Here's my crazy speculation. I speculate that in Far From Home we're gonna get the symbiote.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, but it's under Sony.
It's all under Sony. Sony gets the rights to Spider-Man after Far From Home, so I think it'll be their best bet to put some bit of connective tissue in Far From Home to get them all the way back.
Yeah, but then there you go. You're gonna give us something. You're gonna give us, like olive branches to a much better movie that I'd rather watch. I don't want
But
to
you
watch
need to
this
connect-
Venom movie with Tom Hardy
But if you care
having
about
3 different accents.
But if you care about Spider-Man, that's in his world. That's the whole world that Tom Holland is coming back to. So you have to set that up. I think
Is
that
Tom Holland gonna stay as Spider-Man even in the under Sony? Like if MCU doesn't have him anymore, are they gonna like hire somebody else? Because that would be messed up if they just
no,
hired
that's
some-
Sony's. That's so. I think that's Sony's hire.
That was
Wow.
Sony's hire.
I gotta double check all that stuff. But I think that I'm pretty sure Sony's fitting the bill for all of that.
Okay,
Marvel
'cause
Studios is making.
I
it.
would really not want like them to like have Tom Holland for 2 Spider-Man movies and 2 cameos. And
Oh
that's
no,
it.
he's coming. That's what I'm
'Cause
saying.
right now-
Holland is coming back to Sony after this sequel that we're talking about right now. He goes right back to go play with Venom, seemingly Morbius, all these other characters that we're hearing about these movies that may never come
then
out.
give me Gerard Butler as Craven. Damn it!
But what do you do in this last MCU movie is what I'm asking you. What do you think should happen in Far From Home?
I guess it would make sense to tie
Does
a
he have to go
symbiote.
to another? Does he have to go to another dimension to never see any of these people again? The Avengers and
Yo, for
and,
real.
all these
Switch
people.
to Doctor Strange to just open up a time portal to another dimension and switch places with Ben Riley.
He's like, I'll just do something so that you and your aunt are happy forever. or
Maybe he
something
just
like
turns back the time stone, so he never had to even fight in Civil War.
that. Get dangerous and start playing with time travel. But yeah, that could definitely be it. They could definitely do something.
Because
to,
that's what I would do. I would ask Doctor Strange, listen, I don't want to be an Avenger anymore. Can you just turn back time to the good old days?
Yeah. They're gonna get it right. To tell you the truth, no matter how bad these Spider-Man movies are, as long as they have a little bit of Spider-Man,
Have
in
you
it, I'm
seen
good.
Tom Hardy as Venom? He
Yeah,
talks
it's
like
fine.
dancing, and then like this.
It's
He has
fine.
a Brooklyn, a Bronx, a
No,
Boston, and a Philadelphia
Yeah,
accent
But
all
he's
in
not.
one.
But he's not Topher Grace though. So
He's
literally,
not Topher Grace.
so
I'll give you that
so
one.
literally, he can do anything. He
But
can
you know,
wear a
but how much?
tutu.
But I mean, I'm trying to give you that one, but it's like, okay, it's he's not Topher Grace, but that still excuses the right to have a Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and Boston accent in the span of a 3-minute trailer.
I think it's I don't have that big affection towards Eddie Brock. I just want to see a big Venom, a big hulking, scary Venom, and that seems to be what they're giving me here.
No, they are. He apparently he does look big, but it's just at what cost?
Oh, we'll find out. We'll definitely find out. But if you guys want to find out, and we got to come up with another episode of Which Is Worse. And if you like this episode of Which Is Worse,
I was actually thinking about that not too
the
long
next
ago.
episode.
Yeah, I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. I wanted to do a recent movie,
Okay.
and then I wanted to do an old movie and try and do like another old versus new.
Yeah.
But I wanted to pull one from the MCU.
Versus
And-
something old, or versus
Yes,
something
like
new?
not so old that it's 90s, so 20 years ago. But I want to pull like Thor versus Ghost Rider.
I think the worst MCU film still beats.
What would you
some
think?
of the-
What would you think the worst? Yeah, 'cause I want to go by what our fans say.
Yeah, yeah.
Critically, what
Like
I
if
can
I
look-
had to randomly put one together now, I would go Which Is Worse, Thor against Punisher,
which Punisher?
2004.
Okay, because Warzone is.
I
Have you
think
still have yet to
2004
see Warzone?
I have yet to see Warzone.
Okay,
I haven't seen
You have to-
Warzone. I haven't seen Catwoman. People.
you have to watch.
This is all-
You
I
have to
haven't
watch
seen Electro.
Warzone because we have to talk about Warzone.
So maybe we'll just do it on the cast. Maybe we'll find
Because that's
one
the
of these days.
best Punisher movie we have is Warzone.
Uh,
Warzone is better than the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. It's better than the Thomas Jane Punisher because it actually is Punisher.
huh.
That's the problem. It really is. Storyline aside, dialogue aside, the guy that I think is Roy Stevenson or whatever that plays Punisher. He is a great Frank Castle. That he even looks like a Frank Castle. But I'm thinking that you have to think of a MCU movie you can't defend. Think of that something that's hard to that's hard to
I
like.
don't think there's anyone that I straight up have like malice towards. That's what I'm trying to say. I think even the worst ones have redeeming qualities in them. Thor.
You
none
can
of
find
the
redeeming
Thors.
qualities in Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3 doesn't seem like a movie to me.
For-
It seems like a very long.
Remember, you said it. Like,
one shot that leads from his movies to the Avengers.
because you said yourself, you have to it's either you have to get rid of Iron Man 3 or you have to get rid of Age of Ultron
Right,
for the
for the
entire
narrative to work,
for the
yeah.
continuity to make sense. One of those have to go.
Either he agrees to never make anything else and throw out the little thing in his heart and live that life, or he agrees to keep building everything and making sure the Avengers
So
are always
in
okay.
my eyes, yeah, you know what? Age of Ultron is. I can't say a bad thing about Age of Ultron. I can understand why other people don't like Age of Ultron, but
Mhm.
I would much rather keep Age of Ultron because at least then we can keep Vision.
But the thing is, with the MCU films, especially when you consider like the ones that are coming out now, even if you consider them quote unquote bad, there's so many Easter eggs / oh, I remember him from this film, and I remember that from that other movie.
But what do you have in Iron Man 3 that people remember?
Like Happy, and people like Happy.
Yeah, but you have Happy in 2 other Iron Man movies
That's
and
what I'm
Homecoming.
saying. That's what I'm saying, because he's in those other movies. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. That's funny. And all of a sudden, you're in a better
No,
movie.
I mean, but what takeaways from Iron Man 3 do you have in the rest of the phases that you can go back and save Iron Man 3? I can't save that movie.
Iron Man 3 is not all that terrible. It's all that terrible when you look at it in the scheme of what it did to the rest of the movie. Like where
It made no sense because
Right.
then what? Next thing you know, he has the plate back. No, he doesn't have it back in his chest. He didn't put it back in his chest until Infinity War,
Right.
and now it's nanos. Now it's the bleeding heart armor, the bleeding edge armor.
yeah.
So in Age of Ultron, he doesn't have it in his chest. In Civil War, there's nothing in his chest. So what? It's just it makes.
Yeah, we'll definitely come down to
Yeah, we're gonna have to-
which one of those
Like
two
I'm
films.
thinking that there's at least one MCU movie that there is nothing redeeming about it, and even going back, I kind of found stuff about Thor that I still like Kenneth Branagh as a director. I still like-
I still love
Asgard is still good to look at.
I still love Odin. I still love
That whole you're not worthy
it's
scene.
it's still very, 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 very good. Anthony Hopkins is Odin. He gives it his all, and it's Shakespearean level acting, but this is legendary mythology. So.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're like the way they acted when they're on Asgard makes sense. It's just I don't want a fish out of water Thor movie.
But that's the thing. Regardless, we're always going to have these movies and episodes of Which Was Worse, because we're trying to find the silver linings in these films, and hopefully we were able to give people silver linings with Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2. because there are redeeming qualities to these films. And don't let no one tell you what film is good or bad.
Oh no,
Like
never,
the
never.
films that
Movies
you
are
like.
subjective. You can like anything you want. Hey, there's people out there that actually do love Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3 or Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. Stay far away from those people. But there are people that like these bad movies.
Right, exactly. And uh, it can be a combination of factors between which movies you were introduced to first, which characters you have more fondness for, your favorite style of movie. People have all kind of subjective opinions about things, and we're here to just express ours. But you know that the forum is always open for you guys to let us know how you guys feel about these films, and maybe you guys can help us vote on which the next episode of Which Is Worst will be, because this has been a really
Yeah,
cool.
I have an idea for two two ones to battle it out. So we can do a vote, or I can just tell you them, I show you them and then you can pick which
Okay.
ones of them. But there's like 4 movies that are like because I want you to see Catwoman.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I've only seen Catwoman once, and I was a child. I was like 12 years old, and it was on like Cinemax in the morning.
Okay.
So I remember nothing of Catwoman. So that I would love to watch with you
Okay.
for like a first time viewing.
Right.
So Catwoman is one of them. One of the Ghost Riders is another. I feel like Spirit of Vengeance is a harder movie to find silver linings in. At least the first Ghost Rider, there's ways to.
I was also thinking of Fan Four Stick and the Roger Corman Fan Four, the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
Man, you
So
want to
the
go
Fanta-
Fan Four Stick?
So the Fantastic Four film that was never released because it was so bad versus
But
the
that
one, the last,
90s one?
Yeah.
Whoa, with that practical suit thing?
Yeah, I have it. So
Oh my god.
so I was considering that as well. So
Yeah, one of those 4 movies we can.
There's definitely things on the docket, but make sure that you guys are paying attention to all things major issues by just Googling Major Issues Podcast. Will pop up right up there. But wherever podcasts are found, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Podbean.
Yeah, I found some more
Google
sites
Play.
that have it now.
Yeah, we're on Google Play. I heard we're on like Last FM.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Last
right?
FM.
Last FM. We're on. We're on Spotify.
Apple, that Apple iPod app that's
Yeah, you gotta-
podcast app that's available on your iPhones.
Yeah, if you have an iPhone, there's already an app pre-installed called the
and
Podcast
guys,
app.
if you don't like podcast apps or podcast,
Software.
what's it called? URLs in general, we go straight to YouTube. Follow the Comic Book Clique YouTube channel, and you can find it
Yeah,
right
all
there
our
and there.
episodes are there. Same thing like you were saying. Like maybe they don't want their own specific app for podcasts. I don't know how you're listening to this right now if you don't have one. But if you're sharing this with friends that don't like using podcast software, like I said, we're available on Spotify. Wherever your music is found, you can probably find Major Issues Podcast. And Major Issues is brought to you by Comic Book Clique, which Comic Book Clique, you can find at Facebook.com/Comic Book Clique, Instagram at Comic Book Clique, or use the hashtag Comic Book Clique to talk about all the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We are on Twitter at Major Issues CBC. We got some exciting things coming down the pike for Major Issues and Comic Book Clique. Going to Comic-Con this year, baby. This is going to be fun. We're doing that. A whole bunch of the CW starts rolling down with new seasons of all of its shows. Venom is around the
DC
corner.
streaming service is now
DC
newly
streaming
available.
service exactly is coming out. Hopefully we'll be able to review some of these new shows, these new trailers. But make sure that you guys are here and being a part of the clique. Try to rate and review us on iTunes if you have a chance. It's the quickest way for us to, as podcasters. We will release that. It's the quickest way for us as podcasters to find out from you guys, honestly, how we're doing and what we can improve on. Thanks to you. We are going to be the greatest thing to come to comic books and comic book media. I've been to the future. I've seen it. We only get there because of fans like you. Our viewership is growing exponentially, and it's just because you guys are doing what you guys are doing, which is making the call out to the heroes, and everybody is coming. And, man, it's been a hell of a ride. But Dan has pulled up the actual vote for which is the worst film. We placed it not only on Comic Book Clique's Facebook, but wherever we can share this poll. After how many votes do you have the vote count there?
We have 43 votes and
Okay.
6 shares. Of which is worse between Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2. The fans have said Spider-Man 3 is worse by 58%, so Amazing
That is
Spider-Man
close,
2 is
though.
42%.
That's close. That's close.
Of
We're not
four-
talking
so-
70s and 30s.
So
here.
no, 43 votes, about maybe 20 more, maybe like 5 more people thought Spider-Man 3 was worse. But, they still thought Spider-Man 3 was worse. So,
I still think you did a hell of a job on here defending
sir,
Spider-Man
you
3.
did a great job making me think that, okay, maybe there is a narrative structure to Amazing Spider-Man 2 in a sense.
It may be
In a
sort of
way. If just you got to dig in deep. It's like finding, like, what's his name? The Grinch's heart, 3 sizes too small.
Yeah. And as long as we continue to find good people in our lives, love will carry on. That's what Amazing Spider-Man 2 is about. And I'm pretty sure Amazing Spider-Man 3 has a lesson somewhere in there that you guys can abide by. But this has been the second episode of Which Was Worse. But
A
more
great
importantly,
segment that I love doing.
an episode of Major Issues. My name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I am Dan, the comic man, ladies and gentlemen.
And whether you have terrible on-screen chemistry, whether you get fired from a diner, get fired from a Broadway show,
Whether your boyfriend kills you and lets you drop from a clock tower,
whether you
let your best friend die because you won't let him have your blood, whether you let your other best friend die because you let him sacrifice himself when you could have used your super strength to stop it,
when you disgrace your uncle's name by trying to turn a hoe into a housewife, whether you bump your head and all of a sudden have amnesia and don't know when to flip an omelet, or whether your spider sense seems to randomly stop working long enough for an alien symbiote to latch on to your 1960s motorcycle, remember that we are the Clique, and you, yes you, are worthy.